seeing if we have everything. Hold on.
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
There we go. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the song you were about to hear is done by STiiLPOiNT. They're special guests tonight. They are in the green room drinking whiskey. We've got to get all the girls cleared out. They went to the White House, picked up some illicit substances. They're ready to rock and roll tonight. Do me a favor, if you have not had a chance, STiiLPOiNT, STiiLPOiNT. You can find them on iTunes. If you like this type of music, and even if you don't, man, they have a very strong, deep-seated roots into like an Alice in Chains, Def Leppard, Candlebox kind of sound. They've got ripping guitar, amazing bass and drums. They are in sync. They are very, very tight. It's not the normal bar bands that you listen to. Give it a chance to listen. This is the Don't Unfriend Me intro song that they did for us. It's amazing. And then we've got a world premiere, I guess you could say, since we are all over the world. People watch us all over the place, of STiiLPOiNT's brand new exclusive song, which we'll be playing tonight. Enjoy.
Just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends. And if you want, we can hug and kiss and make up for the party ends. Agree or disagree, just don't unfriend me. 'Cause I'm everything you want, damn sure what you need. I won't tell no lies, back up on the facts with truth. And if you can't get down with that, you must be somebody's stuff.
Hey, Matt, congratulations on your success, brother. And I really appreciate you giving, both sides, and just free speech, the opportunity to have a platform, dude.
Got it. You got it. Thanks for everything you've done for this country, Eli. We'll talk next time. Tell Jen hello, and I'll have this ready in a couple of hours, and you can share it and take a look. I thank you, man.
Thanks, brother.
All right. Bye-bye. Good morning, Don't Unfriend Me Nation. What are we doing?
It's red.
Wait a second, Olivia. You think Elizabeth sounds yummy?
No.
Hold on now. Do we have video? Do we need to take a break, postpone the show? Because I screw STiiLPOiNT. I don't care.
Talking about fried green tomatoes and fried eggplant, freshly grown in her garden.
Oh, I
You
thought
should
we were
listen
talking
to the
about tacos.
whole.
Oh, that's stupid.
Get into the whole
Never mind.
thing.
That's lame. Forget it. Here's the stupid video now. Thanks a lot, Liv.
Friday. RED Friday, which stands for Remember Everyone Deployed. A movement designed to honor veterans and deployed U.S. troops by wearing a red shirt every Friday. As simple as that may be, Red Friday is a great way to back those who serve our country. Go to DUMShow.com and search for Red Friday to get your red on.
All right, folks. Tonight's show is brought to you by Purcellville Flag Company, pfcflags.com. They're not fireproof, but they are smoldering. They are hot. They are awesome. PFC Flags. Go see Jason and Katie. They make a cool flag. They're behind us if you want to see us in the show. You'll be able to take a look. All right, folks. No further ado. We've got STiiLPOiNT in the house. At least 2 out of 3. We said it was STiiLPO. The int is not in the in the name right now because they're missing their third leg. Well, I guess you guys, your third leg. You guys all have your third leg. All the stories that we've been told from the roadies. So you're missing your fourth leg, I guess, is what it would be. 2, let's see, on the right, wearing the Kiss shirt, which is from the 77 tour, I believe, if I'm right or wrong, but you can let me know. Pull the shirt up. I can't see the tour date. World tour. I still can't see the date. Is it 77, Brandon?
77 right on it. I can see it.
77.
Well, I can't see it because my screen's small. I'm sorry. You've got a big screen, Leroy. I apologize. Lord.
Screen envy. Mine and I
Leroy, hear me calling. I just picked up the phone
77
to
it is,
say that you're a pain in my testicles.
That I knew.
And so it's Brandon on the right. And lead guitarist and vocals to the left is Matt. Matt is bassist, also sound and technical god that makes everything happen. STiiLPOiNT is in the house. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Welcome to the
Thanks for having
show.
us, Matt.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Absolutely. There's a little bit of a delay, but we'll get through it. Top right-hand corner over there is Amy. Everyone say hello to Amy.
And you're like, holy cannoli, oh mother of pearl.
And you're like, holy cannoli, oh mother of pearl.
And the bottom left, wearing a Don't Unfriend Me hat with the logo covered with his headphones.
It's right here.
It's covered. It's
Oh my God.
okay.
Is that better?
Here. I'm wearing I'm wearing an avalanche hat. What do you guys think? Isn't it great? All right, whatever. Leroy Jenkins.
In the lower left is Leroy Jenkins.
Did you pack your bags yet, or what, dude? Did you get your European passport?
No, I haven't done it yet. I haven't done it yet, but I do need to interject. I have a quick shout out to a real POS that has no knowledge of anything political. Dennis, if you're watching, Dennis, I'm going to say this is Toctitos. Oh man, I don't know if I got that right, but you're more than welcome to call in at some point if you feel like you have the nuts to debate something. So,
Holy
all right, moving
moly!
on.
It's like he's bringing the trolls. I mean, it's just like he brings them with.
Ryan.
They're not going to call in. We know that. And to the right, my lovely wife sporting her red shirt today. One of these days, all of us will have our red shirt on. I'm not sure. Didn't get the memo that it was Friday.
She forgot it was Friday.
Olivia Spear, folks, ladies and gentlemen, Olivia Spear. Hey. This is more, this is supposed to be Irish, but I kind of want to do this like, yaza, da, 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 with that song. I don't know. That's really
Celtic vibe.
It kind of a little bit, but it's also, got that, Russian, put your arms out and kick your feet type thing. I guess I did like a Jewish or Yiddish style song and mix it all together. But that's what we do here, folks. My name is Matthew Spear. I'm the host of Don't Unfriend Me. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me show. If you haven't been around before, it's pretty simple. Just enjoy yourself. Try to be respectful of the people in chat and also the host. You don't have to be that way towards me. You can say whatever you want about me. I don't care. I've got fairly thick skin. Just be very, very kind to Leroy, because last night, after he got the order of 3,000 reservists being called up by Joe Biden, I hear his wife say, "Well, honey, I'm going to the bar. Get your effing bags packed."
More or less, yeah. She's kind.
I thought it was great. I'm like, I love that woman. All right, well, STiiLPOiNT's in the house. You guys don't know this. STiiLPOiNT, this started at least 2.5 years ago. Matt, how long was it? Because you started watching first, right? Then you brought the rest of the band in. Is that correct?
No, it was actually it was Tater. A friend of his actually turned them on to you when you had like 2 people watching you.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Were probably Tater and his friend.
It probably was.
And then
There's no doubt in my mind.
song on.
When I see like 100, and the other night we had like
Back and
250 on, and I almost had a stroke. I was just like, oh, like, what do we do with all these people?
Yeah,
All right,
man,
so-
you had like, it was like literally 5 people, you know, and we, he found you through his friend Tyler, and, you know, we just started back and forth through the comments talking, and just happened to mention that, you know, we were in a band, we played music, and he said, oh, really? Well, send me some
Yeah.
music. And so we did, and it kind of went from there.
Yeah, you guys sent me a couple cuts, and that were just, you know, pretty basic. I think it was 4 songs, and then I started going into the, you know, to some of the older music, and then Reverb Nation. I started buying some of your songs, and I loved the stuff. And what was funny is like, I think there was a feeling out process. You guys were kind of like, well, we might want to show you some stuff on the show. And I'm like, okay, are these guys for real? Do these guys have teeth? I mean, what the hell's going on? You know? So I think we all kind of felt each other out. But the one thing that was absolutely clear is I love the music, and you know, I'm just not the hair club president. I'm a client. You know, I listen to your stuff constantly when I lift. I've got all your music. My son loves the music. Olivia loves the music. So we're big fans of what you guys produce. So tell us a little bit about STiiLPOiNT. Where did it come from? How did it come into existence? I know the host will have some questions too, and we've got a lot to cover tonight. Just to give everybody a quick sample before we get into STiiLPOiNT, give you a heads up. We're going that's not the one we want. Yeah, no. I know. Hold on. Hold the phone. Hold on. Let's see. Yes. STiiLPOiNT new release exclusive. We're playing it live. Tucker and the candidates. I have broken down all the highlights of 8 hours of interviews. Tucker Carlson interviewing political candidates from the GOP, and I've given you all the highlights. You should be very thankful. I accept PayPal and Venmo. Navy SEAL being canceled by the left. Our good friend Eli Crane. We'll talk about that. And U.S. troops headed to Ukraine. Hopefully not Leroy. We will find out. So, you guys, how did STiiLPOiNT? Where is it born? Where are you guys from? Give me the rundown, please.
Yeah, man, we're just from just a couple dudes from Lithia Springs, Georgia, man, and we just wanted to get together and write some cool. We wanted to listen to, and it just kind of went together from there.
How long have you guys been together?
Oh shit, probably since what, 2002?
This iteration, the 3-piece version, yeah, probably 2002. There was a 5-piece iteration before that. There was a couple, probably 2000.
Did you guys all know each other in high
Broke
school?
apart, went in separate ways, and then we.
Yeah. Did you guys know each other in high school?
No, I actually met Brandon working. So the original drummer I met when I had a little part-time job at Pizza Hut delivering pizzas. And I went to deliver this guy, Brandon, back when they had the deep dish pizza. He ordered one, and he happened to, when he pulled out his money, I was delivering it to him. He pulled out a guitar pick on top of his money. And I was like, "You play guitar?" And he was like, "Yeah." I said, "Are you any good?" He was like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I live right down the street. Literally, he could walk to my house in like 5 minutes." I'm like, "Dude, I got a drummer. Come down and jam with us." And it kind of went from there.
Yeah, I auditioned on Under the Bridge by Red Hot Chili Peppers. His name, we call him Cue Ball. And I auditioned on Under the Bridge from Chili Peps, and he come up from behind the damn the drum set, and he gives me this big hug and shit. He's like, "You want the gig, man? You got it if you want it." And I'm like, "Cool, let's go with it."
Nice.
That's
nice.
awesome.
Awesome.
So,
yeah.
you guys, I think one of the things about you guys that's probably the most interesting, I'm going to give you guys a little bit more screen time here, is the amount of accolades and awards and things like that. I mean, I remember some of the first times I'm like, well, I'll get you guys out there. I'll do whatever I can. And this is like when I literally had 5 people. And you guys I'm like, hey, you owe me for that $1.29 purchase on iTunes. But we've always tried to like get you guys pumped up and stuff. But you've done a lot with this band. I mean, this band is in a lot of places. You can go to Reverb Nation and see the concert photos and the amount of awards and accolades. But give us a little history about what type of music you guys play, but more importantly, on the scene, what's your renown what's your following? What is it like? What do you guys have from a fan base? That type of stuff. I'd love to hear about that.
Man, our fan base, dude, it's just a lot. It's just people from every walk of life who just want to come and have a good time.
Yeah.
You know,
Salt of the earth.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
There's a connection, guys. They're working on their Wi-Fi, so hey, we might see a little pausing. We saw this during pre-show, so hold on. See, they're just in deep thought. See, they're concentrating, trying to answer the question. They're gonna bounce, and then they'll come right back in, and it'll work just fine. This was one of the problems with their phone. So we'll get them back in just 1 second. Let's let them reset real quick, and we'll bring them right back in. One of the things about STiiLPOiNT that really impressed me, and if y'all don't know this, they drove all the way. Oh, hold on, we got them in now. Let's see. What's up, guys? Can you hear me? Gentlemen, can you hear me? Uh-oh. You guys got to do a reset. Come on back again. Got to do a reset. Sorry, folks. They know. We did this in the warm-up. But these guys, we had a veteran roof that we were raising for the company that I worked, and these guys drove all the way up from Georgia and did like a 16-hour drive and wound up playing that morning, playing 3 songs because it got behind. And, there was never a complaint. There was never any bitching. They just absolutely showed up, rocked the house. In fact, they were playing outside. We're talking concert level. I mean, the speakers that they must have had 12 feet of speakers. And, the person who was running the event, the master of ceremonies, is like, we're getting complaints. I'm like, I don't care until I see a cop. We're not turning this shit down. And we rocked that apartment complex, and they just crushed it. It's amazing. They do such a great job. And the thing is that they're selfless. They don't ask for anything. They wrote a song for the show, start to finish. They've always been there. They've let us use their music in several different companies, different areas, and just a bunch of selfless guys. They may have a problem coming back on, but that's not going to stop us. I know Nick's there watching. I'm going to hopefully get him back here in a few minutes. Leroy, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to him. Olivia, I know you have. Amy, I'm not sure if you have too.
And I've never actually spoken to Brandon or Maddie, so I had questions that were already ready to go. But these guys, they really seem like they're so down to earth, like the classic band that knows what rock and roll really is. And they're not willing to kind of sacrifice who they are for anything. They just want to go out, entertain, and just, be heard. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. You guys can find their music on iTunes, and it's really important with STiiLPOiNT. It's STiiLPOiNT. It's not 2 L's, and that can sometimes create an issue. If you go to Reverb Nation and type in STiiLPOiNT, you can find their stuff. Amy or Olivia, go ahead, because Olivia, I know you dig their music.
I do dig it. Did I hear the whole song? I don't remember.
What?
The new song.
No, we're not talking about that yet. We're just wondering about what you think of STiiLPOiNT.
I love them.
Well, okay, so let's get into some specifics. What do you love about them?
They remind me of Def Leppard, and they just have a good beat, and I just enjoy jamming to them, and Ethan absolutely loves them.
Yeah.
They gave him a drumstick. I'm trying to find the picture of Ethan with the band when they gave him the drumstick, and I can't find it.
Oh, I never heard of them until I listened when I was a listener of your show, and you would showcase different songs of theirs in like every few episodes.
Yeah.
And I started following them at that point. And yeah, they're like, just, like Leroy said, down to earth, total rockers. Just, it takes me, their music takes me back to like my high school, early college age era of myself. And I just, when you're at the rock concerts, like the old rock concerts, how they used to be, like just a concert. It wasn't all the hoopla that it is today.
No, that's so true.
That. Yeah.
That's I put the link in the comments. My recommendation is go to iTunes. You can purchase all their music. Listen, I love music. Music is something that I am a connoisseur of, and it's not just hockey and video games and stuff for me. These guys will tell you I rate every their songs. I'll tell them, and I'll just be honest with them, and I'll be like, no, guys, that's shit. shit, it's not a good song. But I've never had to say that to this band. I've always been honest. They let me hear the stuff before it even hits the street. And it just means so much to me because they're just so humble. They're so down to earth. They're very much into God in religion. They're Christians through and through to a person. Most of their music has a lot of semblance towards Christianity and towards religion. And yes, you might hear them cuss a little bit or whatever, but everything they do, if you can just listen to the nuance of the music, you will absolutely fall in love with what they do. You've got to listen to their whole stuff. But I mean, they've got Georgia Music Awards, 5th anniversary Georgia Music Awards.
That's awesome.
These guys have toured and played everywhere.
I just found the pictures and texted it up to you.
Okay.
When we were driving down for our vacation last time, something that I had done, something I always do, because Matt and I think we could probably agree on a lot of musical taste. For me, when I was in high school, when I was growing up, for me, it was a lot of Rush. Loved Rush, loved Van Halen, loved that type of music. And so when we were driving down to our vacation, and this is just a month ago, I had alternate songs going on in the car. You know, we had it on Spotify, whatever. And I threw in, and it was just a string of, like I said, Rush and that kind of thing. And I threw in the theme song to this, and everyone in the car was like, "Is that the Don't Unfriend Me song?" And they recognized it immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've said to the guys, they're very tight. Like their music is tight. And when you hear this new song tonight, it's not always about, you know, oh, well, this is my style of music. You have to listen to the effort that goes into it. And they are symbiotic to each other. They are so tight. I've heard them live. I've heard them practice. And unfortunately, I didn't get to see them, and I didn't get to go down to Georgia. And these guys are so cool. They're like, oh, but Matt, here's your link. And they have it on an iPhone recording. They recorded the whole show for me. That's the type of stuff that I absolutely love in a band. And these guys they deserve their success. This is a video of Brandon just doing a recording shtick. And just, you know, you can listen to the guy. He doesn't screw up. He's a wicked guitarist. He is unbelievably good at what he does. Oh, I got to switch it. Hold on. Forgot about that. Hold on, folks. All right. Stop it. Where's this at? Let's see. Share. YouTube. Close it. All right. Sorry about that. I've got copyright on Safari because it's a pain. But Google Chrome doesn't care about that type of stuff. All right, here it is. Cameraman sucks, but that's okay. You guys got to understand how hard that is. It's incredibly difficult to play that clean and that precise. And that's the thing about Matt, is that he has these incredible licks that it just doesn't make much sense, because you're like, well, how is this guy not doing stuff at a level that, you know, whether it's studio or whether it's an own band that goes national, because I've listened, like I said, to music my whole life. And you listen to something like Candlebox, who has 2 good songs, and the rest of their stuff is shit. You don't have that with STiiLPOiNT. It's like every song has merit. Every song has something that's incredible, and they're extremely deep. This isn't surface level songs where it's just a couple drum lines and then you got yourself a riff and then you got a bass line going in there. They add certain things to their songs. They add depth to their songs, and everyone kind of tells a story. Finish this up, and then I'm going to play the new release of the song. you guys just don't understand how difficult
so
that.
Good.
It's so difficult to do what they just did.
I mean, I grew up listening to nothing but like all of the really, really high end, like the Joey Tafolas and the Tony McAlpines and Yngwie Malmsteens and Joe Satriani's.
Yeah, Yngwie.
So when I hear that, I'm like, yeah, he put in the work. He put in the work.
Well, they've got a little bit of Pearl Jam. I mean, they've got a little bit of everything. I
can totally hear the Pearl Jam.
Brandon, I was just showing them you cutting in the studio, and the one thing that I just want to give you guys credit for before I hand it back over to you guys is their ability, their recording. They don't screw around. Lossless audio, incredible, impeccable recording quality. And I am an audiophile. I've got a $35,000 sound system downstairs, and I love my 2-channel audio. And I will sit there and I will listen to, the old Hiss and the Pop recording studios on wax, but I love a lossless audio, and I love kicking in the 7.2, having 2,600 watts of subwoofers going off at the same time, having my, tweeters and carbon fiber tweeters just screaming. I love music. And if you like to put on the headphones and just listen, this music is so high quality and it's so well produced. I just don't understand. You got to get these guys national, right? So whatever you can do to help, if you can share it, if you can go pick some songs up, whatever. You guys, real quick, I want to give it back to you, and then I want to play the release of the new song, Kingdoms Upon the Sand. I always love your titles. Tell me a little bit about Kingdoms Upon the Sand. Where did it come from? What is this sound? How has it kind of progressed from your last few songs that you've done, which I think were your best work? I would love to hear from you about that.
Man, Kingdoms Upon the Sand, it's about how evil has really taken over the world and completely got so arrogant, and they're just shoving it right in our face, and Kingdoms is about how we're about to take the fucking the reins back. So that's where we're at on Kingdoms.
They built their castle on the sand.
They built their kingdoms upon the sand.
And not the rock of truth.
So when you guys put together a song, I was trying to tell everybody when you guys were, resetting your modem and stuff, it's very Christian centered, usually a lot about God, a lot of, almost like the struggle between angels and demons type stuff, and it's personified through sound. Yeah. So where does that come from? Where does that love of Christ translate into your music? And how do you guys make that consideration every time you write a song?
Well, really, man, I don't sit down and say I'm going to write a song. It's more like I'm trying to translate what I'm hearing. It's like I hear it in my head, and I try to translate it to the best of my ability to what it is trying to tell me. So that's really how I do it. I don't really... there are exceptions like Midnight Drive. I totally wrote that, just, on my own. But really, it's really just like inspiration,
Yeah, it's a good song. Midnight Drive is great. I love your shit. Yeah, it's like I tell these guys. All right, so Kingdoms Upon the Sand, is this available on iTunes right now? Because that's usually what happens. Nope. We'll put it out there.
This is going to be the first time anybody hears it. It's exclusively right here on the Don't Unfriend Me show, bro.
Dude. It will be up as soon as iTunes decides to let it go up, though.
We haven't put it up yet. We wanted to drop it exclusively right here, man, because this is where it's at.
Awesome.
It will be available, though.
Let me see if I can get this thing going.
Yeah, I'm on a podcast.
Dude, that pick work is so Phil Collin. I don't care what anyone says. I told you a long time ago that Paper Sun was one of I thought the guitar solo that was never finished. And right when Phil just started to eclipse in Paper Sun, he just let it go and for some reason didn't finish that damn solo. And I think could have been one of Phil's best. Very reminiscent of that, dude. I love because it's not like you're screaming. It's not like you're just going off. It's melodic. It's beautiful. It fits the song. It brings everything together. I'm sorry to interrupt it, but I've never given you that feedback on that song. I love it, dude. Yeah. Here it is.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Maddie, the bass line, dude, is so good to hear you get your moments in there. And you know, a couple of the songs from previous, you hear Nick have a little bit of an intro, or, you know, Brandon's always screeching. But dude, to hear that bass line, it's thunderous. It's great. It's awesome. It helps keep the song going together and keeps it so tight. You guys, I love the music. Tell everybody, where are you guys playing? Are you going live? There's a job interview I've got on Monday, and Georgia would be one of my territories. I'm just letting you know. So I'm hoping, dude, because I'd love to party with you guys and listen to the music. But tell us, when are you guys going to be playing and where?
Go ahead.
Our next show is tomorrow night. Furnace 41, Jonesboro, Georgia. You can look it up, Google it. They've got Facebook, the website. Our show is on there. If you need the address, phone number, any information about where the venue is, or anything else about it, we will be playing outside. Be an outdoor festival type show. We go on at 8:20 p.m. Yeah, man, tomorrow night, Furnace 41, Jonesboro. Come out and see us. I know that we've already got, there's 5, 6, 7 dummies that are actually already coming that we know of.
Nice.
So,
That's
and then a whole bunch
awesome.
of slew of other people. So it's going to be badass. It's going to be outside, perfect setting, July outdoor festival show. So, yeah, come out. It's going to be amazing.
For
Yeah,
tickets, 770-256-2041. You guys can go and get that at Furnace 41 over on Facebook. Make sure you guys follow them too, because you guys can keep up to date. But yep, right here, they've got it. STiiLPOiNT Distorted Fest also. But yeah, you can get tickets there. Give them a call if you are in the Georgia area or anywhere close. Drive in, go see the show. I promise. Go ahead.
You can also get them right off of the website too, at furnace41.com, I believe.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. You can buy the e-tickets right off the website there at furnace41.com, and they'll have them for you at the door.
Now, listen, if you guys want to send me the feed, real simple, set
Nick
up a
just said there will be a live feed tomorrow.
Okay, let me know where the live feed is, and I'll stream it. I'll come on and stream it because I want to see
So
it.
we're going to get that going. We've got too many people out in the crowd of our own people not to do it.
Well, here's the number. I'm putting it in chat if you want to go get tickets. I just love that so many dummies are fans, and it's hilarious because I'm just like, oh yeah, I've already went to a show, and I'm like, what? That's freaking awesome. I mean, the fact that we've got some of the Dumb Nation there, and one day it would be awesome for all of us to kind of get together in a centralized location, do a concert, do all that type. That would be awesome. Leroy had some questions for you guys from the band, and then we're going to kick off and get busy doing what we always do. But Leroy, you go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I was listening to some of that music, and I was trying to figure out where, like, I was putting myself in your shoes, right? And I'm listening to the drum and the guitar work, and I'm thinking to myself, who were your inspirations? Who were your musical inspirations when you were a teenager, when you were upcoming, when you decided, you know what, I'm gonna pick up this instrument and make a go of it? Who did you pull from the most?
Oh man, so I grew up a '90s kid, man. I was really into Kurt Cobain, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots. That was a big one. I really, I wanted to be Kurt, and then the older I got, the more I've got into the '80s shit, and the Van Halen. And then when I really started getting into the Van Halen and shit, something really just broke loose. I don't know what it is, but I've always said, like, I don't know, if there was an alternate universe or whatever, anybody from the Van Halen family, they're gonna find a musical instrument and they're gonna fucking just rock it, no matter where they're at. But something really broke loose when I got into the '80s stuff, man. I don't know. It's just but yeah. Nice.
I think for me, the biggest.
Hey, you guys, Ethan wants to say hello before he goes.
Go ahead.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
How you doing, man?
It's been a while.
Hello. They want to know how you are.
Do you want to come listen on the headphones? You can talk.
You want to come say hi? All right. He wants to talk to you guys and say hi. So he's a big fan. We showed the pictures earlier. He loves the music and he loves you. Every time a new song comes out, he plants. And it's like, we used to be in front of the black and white 13-inch, or some of us in front of the radio, but he loves his music. Go ahead, E. You guys can talk to him now.
Hey, buddy.
Did you?
How you been? It's
Ethan,
been a while.
Hi.
Did you come
Hey,
home?
buddy. How you doing, man?
Good.
Did you come home to actually talk to the guys?
No. Mom texted Mr. Pete.
Yeah, I said they were on.
But
Oh.
I did come home.
That's awesome, dude. Listen, do you remember when we saw them live? And
Yes.
for the Raise the Roof. That's great. Listen, Ethan, what are some of your favorite musicians? What bands do you like?
Def Leppard. I like Shine Down. I like Pearl Jam. I like a lot. Fuel. Metallica. Like STiiLPOiNT.
Metallica. So get this: Metallica, Shine Down, Pearl Jam, STiiLPOiNT. I mean, to even be mentioned in that group is pretty cool. So,
Absolutely, man.
Thank you.
All right. Well, listen, you guys. I want to say thank you
I have
guys.
a
I love you.
Wait,
Go ahead,
I have a
Amy.
question.
Yes.
I have two questions now because I'm going to follow up to one of Leroy's questions. Since you mentioned Van Halen, I have to ask David or Sammy.
Oh, that's easy.
I'm a Sammy guy.
Me
What do you
too.
think?
I'm the same
Well,
guy.
oh, Sammy all day.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
give
Sammy
a
all
shit
day.
Good
what
rocker.
anybody says. I'll take Sammy
Sammy all
all
day.
day.
Yeah,
Now,
I'd
that's
take
taking
Sammy all
nothing
day.
away from David Lee Roth, but
Right.
Sammy just it's rock and roll perfection with Van Halen with Sammy on the mic.
And he can play the
It's rock
guitar.
and roll fucking perfection.
And he can
Yeah.
play the guitar too.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sammy had a greater vocal range, you know. Oh,
For
so
sure.
good.
For sure.
Sammy's
And
Sammy. I mean, he's one of the greatest rock and roll vocalists of all time.
At least
Yeah,
four
but you
octaves
go,
vocal range.
but you go ahead and see a lot of people are like, well, David Lee Roth. And I'm like, wait a second, time out. It shows you how amazing Eddie Van Halen, although a dick at times, how amazing Eddie Van Halen was because he had Steve Vai. David Lee Roth had Steve Vai. He couldn't do anything with Steve. I just did not like the break off when David Lee Roth and Vai got together. It just shows you how tight that band was and how they carried David Lee Roth. Sammy Hagar, in my opinion, propelled Van Halen. It made them even better. And that's why I'm a Sammy Hagar guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All day long. I don't give a shit what anybody says. I'm going with Sammy all
Yeah, he's
day.
one of the. Not only that, I mean, my favorite rock vocalist of all time is Chris Cornell, and
God. Yes.
Sammy is right up there with Chris Cornell in
You got
terms of
Steve
I agree.
Perry, you got Sammy, you got Chris Cornell, man. I mean, that's like, you know,
Hey,
perfection.
you're forgetting somebody.
Who?
Freddie Mercury. Just give Freddie
Oh,
the
you're
because
Yeah,
there's
Freddie's
nobody. There's nobody. Yeah, you don't even have to like Queen's music, but there was nobody that could do what Freddie Mercury could do. There was only one
I agree.
person that I felt could really capture Freddie Mercury, and that was George Michael. Because George Michael had a range that was just incredible. And people are like, how do you like George Michael? I'm like, listen, dude, I'm a Swiftie too. I'm a Taylor Swift guy. I have no.
Oh,
I
she's
have
a
all
body,
the,
bro.
She's
Straight up.
amazing. Taylor
Yes,
Swift's
she is.
amazing. But if you listen to George Michael, I just go listen to Father Figure and tell me that guy doesn't have range. That's absolutely freaking incredible. Whether you like the music or not, it doesn't matter. But Mercury deserves the love. Very unique. But I love that you said Steve Perry because I think Steve Perry is one of the most unique voices ever.
Oh man, I think
rock
he's
and roll.
number one. I've really considered all this, and I really think Steve Perry is probably number one.
It's hard.
And here's where I have a little bit of a problem because I'm going to go back to my love of Def Leppard and say Joe Elliott. I'm telling you, man, that guy could bang. Anybody that has not listened to Joe Elliott, go listen to Stage Fright and tell me he does not have one of the most unique voices in rock and roll.
Oh, sure.
There's not, dude, you can get Rat, you can go ahead and get Sebastian Bach. None of them are doing Stage Fright the way he does it, man, where he just comes out. And I remember in 86, we saw Hysteria in the round in Denver, and then we drove to Los Angeles to watch them. And we were front row. You can see and Pour Some Sugar on Me. My brother and I are in that video. And as we watch it, he's just like, it's got the neon, that triangle, distorted face of Hysteria, all black lit up. And then all of a sudden you just hear him go, I can't even do it, but Brandon probably do it better than I can.
Hell of a live
But he was like, welcome to my
live
show. And that freaking curtain drops and lights go off and just, oh, dude, all over. Anyway, I love it.
There's always
All
been this
Wait,
level
one more
of.
question.
Oh, sorry. Amy's got a question. Amy's got a question. Go ahead, Amy. Sorry.
One more question. When are you guys coming up? George is like far, so not that it's not too far to drive, but like, are you coming closer up, like to the coast a little bit, like to the DC area, like anywhere, anytime?
Well, we've been talking to Matt about. There's a couple of places that I know he has in mind up that way in Virginia, and we would totally be down for coming up there. He's just, we just got to get together on it and make it happen. And
I've told him we're going to put it right downstairs in my strip downstairs, beautiful hallway. They can put all their equipment and we'll do a live show right there. I mean, we'll plug into I've got the Roadcaster, so they can plug all their instruments right here and you'll get a live concert. I want to do that more than anything and just rock out right here. But take them over to, what's the barbecue place? Monks. Take them over Monks. They can do live over there. Take them down to Friar Tuck's and V Beach and Norfolk. Old Navy stomping grounds, and just basically I just got to take the time and get them booked. So
yeah, and maybe Freedom Festival next year.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Oh yeah,
we love playing festivals.
Anything you guys, any of you have, get together with Matt, let him know. We'll come up there. I mean, we're more than willing for sure.
Yeah,
we'd love to come up there.
Yeah, awesome, dude.
Yeah, we're selling
Awesome.
more and more. Every show we do, it's like there's more and more people coming, man. So shit is really starting to snowball.
Dude,
So,
I
a lot of
told
hard
you,
work put in, man.
I told you if we get syndicated, dude, I'll be like, there's a couple things that have to take place. You got to take the crew, the hosts, and you got to take STiiLPOiNT. That's just it. You got to license them, pay them what they're worth, and let them do the music. But you guys do incredible stuff, and I love you guys like brothers. You guys are just like, I don't know, man. I'd walk through hot coals and live fire for it. I would do a Hillary Clinton on the tarmac and walk through sniper fire for you guys.
It's mutual, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, boys, we got a show to do. I will continue to play it. I'll put this up on the site when you guys are ready to release the actual music on iTunes. Let me know, and I'll make sure I put a link to it up on the Don't Unfriend Me show on all of our social media and everything else. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Guys, thank you so much for being on tonight. It was really great having you.
Ethan,
Thanks
say
for
goodbye to
having us,
STiiLPOiNT.
Yeah, thank you, we really appreciate y'all, man.
Ethan says goodbye. Ethan, you got to yell
Bye.
out. Say
We'll see you soon, hopefully, buddy.
All right, guys. Hey, and by the way, I'm still waiting for my bass. I've got a spot for it on the wall, but somehow it doesn't show up.
Give me a show. Get us a show up there, and I will hand deliver it to you.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, and I got to get you guys shirts. I got to get you guys. We'll do the whole thing. Seriously, we'll do the whole thing. Let's start working on it. Let's get a band. Get you guys up here. And listen, there's plenty of breweries up here that you guys can play. There's so many places you guys can play. There's a new distillery open up. What's John's last name? There's a guy that we both know who's fairly prominent in Round Hill. He's opening up his own distillery here, and he wants live music. And I told him about you guys, and he seemed very interested. So we'll get this all settled, and we'll get you guys up here, okay?
Sure.
Yeah,
We're down. Hey,
absolutely.
man, hand-delivered bass, I'm telling you.
I can't wait for it. All right, boys. God bless. Thanks for being here. Keep it rocking out. We love the new song. Thank you.
We really appreciate you, man.
Thanks, brother.
Dude, we're always here for you. Anything we can do. Thanks, boys. All right.
See you,
Bye-bye.
boy. Have a good one.
All right. Well, listen, that's STiiLPOiNT. If you guys have not heard STiiLPOiNT, just please go and download some of their stuff. If you liked anything tonight, trust me when I say this, they will rock your socks off. They are an amazing band. All right, we need to get to the show. We've got a lot to do. Let's get going. No, STiiLPOiNT. I think STiiLPOiNT should go to Austin City Limits. I think they would be fantastic. Hold on, they're joining again. Hold on, I can find out what's going on. All right, there we go. All right, so what do you guys think of the new song?
Love it.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely love it.
That was great.
I was head bopping the whole time.
Yeah. Same.
I was.
Yeah.
I still think Call of the Saints is my favorite song that they do. It's pretty good. There's not many other songs that in my opinion hit like that, because it's just, I don't know. It's one of those songs, Cry of the Saints. It just absolutely. You guys may remember this.
Yeah. It's one of my favorites. Right.
Yeah. We played this for a long time, and I don't think it's as tight as the stuff they're doing now, but it's pretty close. And it just builds, slowly builds, and then just hits. And it's one of my favorite songs. Anyway, go listen to their stuff. They're not a one-hit wonder. They've been around all the time. All right.
Somebody wanted to know what time the showtime was. Do they? Oh, 8:20. They said 8:20.
8:20. Yeah. So 8:20 they'll be live. Well, I'm glad we got STiiLPOiNT on. We've been wanting to do that for a while. Feels good to have them on. We've got a lot to do, so let's get to it. I'm fixing Olivia's brightness just a little bit. All right. So today there was a whole bunch of stuff in the news.
Yeah.
And predominantly Tucker Carlson doing 8 hours of sitting down with all the GOP candidates. First of all, you got to give Tucker Carlson credit. There's one thing that I believe in, and especially in retail, and I've tried to, whenever I've had been in charge of a store or a district or a region, I always believe that, and I told my people this, is that the first customer of the day gets the same experience as the last customer of the day. If you can achieve that and have the same level of energy and dedication you did with the first customer, with the last customer, we'll be a successful company. And Tucker had the same amount of energy for the first interview as he did the last. Now, I had a chance to watch them all. I took the best of the best for you so we can kind of watch it together. I would love to watch each one and then get your commentary. Now, I think there's some surprises here. Nikki Haley did not perform exceptionally well. In my opinion, she stumbled with a lot of her answers, and that was a little bit of a surprise for me. I don't think that stops her from being a VP choice, but I think some of the answers were expected. Mike Pence he stumbled a little bit, but he stuck to his guns. Right. I got to give him credit for that. Rick Scott was there and obviously did his thing. Vivek was there. I brought pretty much the major players. So I would love to go through that with you guys and watch some of those. And then we can kind of give our feedback on what we think, what we liked, what we didn't like. Were we expecting that answer? Was it a good one? Was it a bad one? All of those things. And we've got a full sheet. I was busy. Yeah. We got some videos here for you guys. So let's do this. Where do we want to start? I'm going to start with Tim Scott. And this was a question in regards where Tucker did challenge quite a bit, but he did go after some people a little harder than others. And that kind of bothered me because he doesn't like neocons. And I don't think he likes Nikki Haley very much. So he was a little harder on Nikki Haley. He was a little harder on Mike Pence. Vivek Ramaswamy, he was a little easier. And DeSantis, surprisingly enough, I don't know. I want to get people's takes because DeSantis, we're going to find out. I want to get your thoughts and we'll talk about it together. All right. So first one is Tim Scott on Mexico and Russia in regards to why are we more worried about Ukraine? Why is Russia our biggest enemy when we should be focused on Mexico being one of our biggest enemies? It's an interesting take. And I think Rick Scott got Tuckerized on this one. You tell me what you think. Here it is.
Well, so here's, I'm just interested because all measures are relative. So Russia's bad, Russia's a threat, Putin's evil, got it. But the total body count from Russia in the United States is right around 0. Like, I don't know anyone who's been killed by Russia. I know people personally who've been killed by Mexico. The government of Mexico allows fentanyl to be made in its country and to come over our border. Yes. And remittances from Mexico are a huge part of their economy. The Mexican government is party to the murder of hundreds of thousands of Americans. So why is Mexico less of a threat than Russia?
Well, two things. I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Okay, but
frankly, here's
no Americans killed by Russia, hundreds of thousands killed by Mexico, but Mexico's our ally and Russia's our enemy. How does that work?
Well, I'm not going to pretend like the legislation I have sponsored and I would sign as President of the United States freezes the assets of the Mexican cartels, targets the Mexican cartels, and hopefully eliminates the flow of fentanyl. Because I do agree with you that 70,000 Americans losing their lives on an annual basis is an existential threat to America that we can solve. We don't have to choose the good news.
Would you be willing to say to the Mexican government, your economy runs on factories right over the border, car plants, for example, but many other manufacturing plants, and we're just going to slap tariffs on that and tank your economy, like tomorrow, unless you stop allowing poison to come into our country? Like, why not do that?
I say you use every tool available to stop fentanyl from coming across our border. No exceptions.
Interesting.
He's kind of soft on that. I am not liking what Tim Scott is, how he's responding. He should have been a lot more forceful. When Tucker is basically saying, why is Russia our enemy and Mexico is our friend, yet more people, there is an answer to that. And I can't believe that it flew right over Tim Scott's head like that, because it's a matter of geographic bias. There's a reason the United States is the hub, is the end destination for all things illegal like that, because most of the time when we're talking about illegal activity, you're talking about, drugs, prostitution, human trafficking, things like that. And so that's going to end up in the place with the most money. That's us. Mm-hmm. So it's not that no Americans have been killed by Russia, and so that makes what? Mexico? No. Mexico, as a national policy, right, is the largest trading partner that the United States has. So no, they're not enemies.
not only that, it's you are on the precipice of doing a 5-word answer, 7-word answer, which shocks me because I'm usually not the one who does that. You do that very well. I don't.
Sorry.
But it's a geopolitical threat versus a geographical threat.
Yeah,
it's complete. You're not even. It's not even the same sport. Russia is a government and economic threat with a military that is very threatening, and we are. You're looking at a singular impact that could devastate the United States, where we're dying by 1,000 paper cuts with Mexico, and it has nothing to do with their government except for their lack of actually following through with what we've asked them to do. And it's their citizenry which is actually hurting the United States and southern countries. It's the real truth is that the lack of the border for Mexico in between Mexico and South America is the true issue versus the border on our southern border. Because if you could actually, Mexico would enforce South America from being a thoroughfare, we wouldn't be seeing the amount of people coming through from Al-Qaeda or France or Somalia or other countries, because that's where they're coming through is Mexico and coming across our border. So it's a weak answer. You're right. I don't like it. Does anyone on the panel like his answer?
No.
I was not impressed.
No.
What was it that did not impress you specifically, Olivia? What was it that was kind of like, I don't know. Was it his delivery? What is his overall message? What is it?
Well, I can tell you that I've heard the name Tim Scott before, but I didn't know who he was. So this is my first impression of him, first time I've seen him. Fair. And it was just kind of drab and kind of boring, and it was like it didn't pull me in. And I almost started to lose interest in listening to him. Really, I don't know. He didn't strike me as really interesting, and he didn't pull me in.
At any point, did he like make you yawn? Was that kind of the general reaction?
No, I just kind of started reading comments. I wasn't focused on what he was talking about. I started looking at comments and stuff. So it was just like it didn't make me focus completely on him and what he was saying.
You weren't drawn in.
Exactly.
Right.
Interesting comment by James Cote. I think it's Cote. It's Don Quixote. I respect Tim Scott, but it's not his time. Yeah. You know, that's an interesting thing. I hear that a lot, and it's kind of and James, I'm not coming down on you. This is a general comment. It's like a lot of people with trust the plan, right? Do we have trust the plan with Donald Trump? Yeah. It seems to be the new yes. And you know what? They do this placating move of, I like Tim Scott, but, and it's a but sandwich. It's not his time. He needs to wait his turn. It's very reminiscent of what y'all said about DeSantis. And remember, 7 months ago, DeSantis was the greatest governor in U.S. history. You guys loved him.
Part of the plan.
That's right. You loved Ron DeSantis. He was the great white hope. He was the answer for the Republican Party. Now y'all hate him, and you're saying he's funded by Soros, and it blows me away. There is a way for you to say this simply. I prefer Trump over DeSantis just because. You can just say that, and that is completely fine. You don't need to make up all the other stuff that his wife wants to run, and he's weak, and he didn't do anything in Florida. It's not needed. You can just simply say, I'm Trump through and through, and I'm vote for him in 2024 no matter what. And I think everyone would be fine. Amy, did you have a take on that?
I did not like his answer. I couldn't have said it more eloquently than what Leroy said. But I will say, I feel like Tim Scott, I feel like he has such a presence and normally, but I feel like, Tucker really got him good. Do you know what I mean? Like he didn't stand up to Tucker. He just kind of folded, and I don't want that. I don't want that in any president.
It's very weak. It was a weak answer, and it's not that I don't like the guy, because I do, and I think he's great, and I think we need more African American presence in the GOP. It's just you're going to find that most of the candidates had a weak answer. Now, Byron Donalds was also in the debate, and there wasn't enough for me to say yes or no. He was in my opinion, he was very affable and didn't bother anybody. And I don't believe that I want you to bother people. I want you to say every one of these clips, it says something specifically that should annoy people or excite people. And although Byron Donalds did a great job today, he didn't bother anybody, in my opinion. That's just me. I wanted to go ahead and throw that out there. You can tell me that I'm crazy, or I'll find some clips and we can watch it, and you can tell me that there's something truly inspirational that I missed. The next one by Scott, is about cluster bombs. And this is something that Leroy and I will have an opinion about. And obviously, I would like to talk about that tonight if we have some time, which we may not. But this is something that I find very interesting. It's shocking because when Leroy and I first started into this, cluster bombs were like the United States was pushing everyone in the world to get rid of them. I mean, everybody. And it was like landmines. Anti-personnel mines was huge when I was first got in, and then cluster bombs were a second. And to hear the United States on a stage pushing cluster bombs really baffles me. But maybe we can talk about it. Let's listen to his answer, and you guys can tell me what you think with this one. Maybe this one will be a little different. Let's find out.
Where you are.
And you guys are welcome for all this hard work, this incredibly difficult work of putting all these videos together and making these.
Thank you, dear, for spending your hard-earned free time to put the show together for you.
I could have got a couple levels in Diablo. I mean, let's be honest. Just let you know. All right.
You guys haven't beat the game yet?
No, it's you can't beat the game. Diablo's unbeatable. You have to keep playing. It's crack. It's just like tap the vein, baby. Give me some of Hunter's magic juice. Okay, here it is.
Bombs to the Ukrainian military.
Well, if I was president of the United States, we wouldn't have to. Here's what you saw.
But now that we have, what do you think of it?
Well, I mean, I think they're there. So here's what I would suggest is.
Well, they're not. I don't think they're there yet. Do you think that we should send them?
I think that the mistake is when you have President Biden saying to the world that here are a host of weapons that we no longer have the ammunition to supply. You have a request coming from Ukraine saying we need more of the weapons that you say you don't have to provide. As opposed to keeping top secret information in your closet, you go to the front pages of every news station, you go to the screens, and President Biden says to the world, we don't have the ammunition. And so what you see from Ukraine is they say send the cluster bombs over. Under my administration, we would have the resources in a defense industrial complex that provides the weapons that we need and our Western allies need. We wouldn't be in this position at all.
Do you think he should send them?
I wouldn't have to. He already has agreed to do so.
Just answer the question. That's a flip-flop, man.
Jeez.
Where are you on?
I guess you can see the politician in the audience. Leroy's got something, and then we'll kick it over to somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, he should have just come out right out and said it. I mean, if somebody were to ask me that same question, right? And I did like his preface to this by saying, look, if I were the president, we would have never been in this situation because I would have made it abundantly clear prior to the invasion that that is a line in the sand that will not be crossed. And when I say will not be crossed, I mean will not be crossed. And so then you build on it from there. And basically, to Tim Scott's point, there's been a lot of debate over the cluster munitions. The fact of the matter is they're old. We've had them in our inventory for a very, very long time. We have dissuaded other countries from producing them, from using them. I think they are at some level against certain treaties. But the fact of the matter is that cluster munitions are being used against the Ukrainians right now. And it's not it's not like NATO. It's not like Ukraine is a NATO country. So it's not like we're violating anything by giving them these cluster munitions.
When we talk about violating any treaties, the one thing is that there is a prerequisite for dud rate. Dud rate is absolutely crucial. Like what dud rate basically means is that like the Russian munitions that are going off, they have like a 60% failure rate. I mean, it's something extremely high where those bombs dud and they don't essentially explode with impact on ground, and it leaves them to be hot. And ultimately, that entire area is a landmine field where there's millions of unexploded
ordnance
droplets, an ordnance that can literally take out kids and everything else. So it all needs to be basically traffic milled with bulldozers and anti-personnel vehicles that will basically hit those and, MRAPs and everything else that will go through there and make it safe again. But that's a stupid answer, right? Well, we already have to do the work, so we might as well add more to it. But they're saying that the munitions have a 2% dud rate. But this munitions has been stored for a while. This isn't something that we used exclusively in Afghanistan. It's been there for quite a time. It's kind of been frowned upon. It's kind of like chemical weapons. You don't use them. So I think it's very telling that we are so desperate to save our reserve munitions. And the United States doesn't have, if anyone who thinks that we're out of ammo, that's not what it is. We have a reserve amount. We have enough to go ahead and prolong war for 18 months of prolonged war versus 2 continents or whatever it would be. The point is that we don't want to go into those reserves. So I have a whole nother opinion about this and my opinion about Ukraine, which is a whole nother show. I'd rather focus on the candidates. Olivia, Amy, do you have anything on that before we go to the next clip?
I don't understand why he got up. It didn't make
that.
sense.
That's somebody. Yeah, somebody else said
Go
that.
ahead,
And I
Ames.
have an opinion about that. I was
posturing
going to
thing.
say because someone else said it was odd, a bit odd, and I actually appreciate that. I think as a leader, you stand up and you address the people you are talking to. So I actually appreciate that. I think sitting down is more casual. It's like a conversation. But when you are talking about being the president and the leader of our country, then you should stand up. You should look proper. You should be dressed well, and you should speak, with some force behind your voice, but be direct, and also you have to be multidimensional. I couldn't do it, but
Real quick,
You're
first of all,
saying-
it's a great.
You're saying
it's
it
a
was a
great
posturing thing, though, right?
No, he said, I'll address that. He answered that while he was in there, just anecdotally, just kind of spit it out. And he's like, I feel better standing, is what he said. So he stood up. He's like, when I'm talking to people, I feel better standing. So he did address that earlier in the interview, and I did hear that. So I want to add some context. James Cote says, newer version cluster munitions are armed with proximity fuses, never a dud. That's not true. They are designed with proximity fuses, but impact can go ahead and fail. There's a failure rate with proximity fuses as much as there are with impact releasing explosives and everything else. So there's still a dud rate of 2% with these things. It's nominal.
Depends on
The
where
whole
they land.
point is that it's not the dud rate that's the issue. I don't care about that because when you have to rebuild the country that you destroy anyway. So let's just get around that. The 150 billion is a starting point because we're going to rebuild it once it's destroyed too. If you didn't know that, go back to Iraq, go back to Kuwait, go back to Syria, go to Bosnia, Herzegovina. I mean, we can go on and on and on. But the issue with cluster bombs is they are extremely inaccurate. And they are dangerous to civilians because of their inaccuracy. And they are not a precision-guided munition. They are a pray and spray bomb, and very similar to a napalm type effect. The maximum amount of square footage is your area of opportunity, not laser guided precision, not anything like a Hellfire or a Tomahawk or anything like that. So that's the one thing you got to be concerned with cluster bombs. Leroy, go ahead.
I wouldn't add anything to that. I think you explained it perfectly. The only thing I take that back. There is something I would add, is that when you're dealing with cluster munitions, what the actual munition is landing on is a big part of whether or not it's going to be effective. I.e., if it lands on a hard sandy type field,
Right.
yeah, it's going to go boom. But if it's a field of long grass with lots of padding, right, it may not. It probably will not.
That's a great point. But proximity fuses are timed fusion and proximity fuses are not infallible. So anybody who's done any sub work knows this. And go ask EOD how many, especially in the Persian Gulf, how many mines they had to defuse during the Gulf War that were proximity-based munitions. It's just, they're not as reliable as you think. To a point of 2%. At least that's what we're hearing. Vicky says, Matt, where were the troops deployed to? Ukraine or just in Europe somewhere? I cannot answer that question, and I will not answer that question. And there's two reasons. One is that I have friends who have been deployed. I have friends who just recently came back. I had a good conversation with a good friend of mine at the breakfast diner who was just over there doing some things that I cannot talk about. And I'm not gonna get into that. I'm not gonna get into troop movements. I'm not gonna get into locations. I don't think that's appropriate for me to say those things. If Leroy would like to say something, which I know he won't, I'm gonna turn it over to him.
Not even a little bit.
We sum that up pretty quick. Okay, so we'll not answer that question. But I really like all the questions tonight. Do we have any more? Liv?
No.
Okay. Nikki Haley. I want to go. I want to go to Nikki Haley real quick. Now, everyone knows that I said that Nikki Haley would be a very strong Kamala type choice that would give Donald Trump a very big edge when it came to female voters, when it came to moderate and conservative male and female voters, predominantly suburb voters. I still think Nikki Haley holds a high-end value. I don't think she was prepared for Tucker. But I want to get your opinions first, so let's go ahead and do that. This was about cocaine in the White House. What's interesting is all these videos were 1080p except for Nikki's. They were all like 720, and I'm like, that's sexist. Here you go. Take a listen. Mike Blankman says, shit, ask EOD how many are used in Afghanistan that were left over from the Russian invasion and used as small IEDs and booby traps. Well, that's absolutely true. That's another reason why you want to be very, very cognizant of cluster bombs, because they can be used for guerrilla warfare tactics, IEDs, secondary munitions for resistance groups. And if you think Ukraine's not going to have resistance, if the Donbass region is given in a peace treaty to Russia, they will. Because you obviously haven't been paying attention. There's been a civil war going on there for the last 15 years. All right, let's watch this.
Oh, go ahead. No one's watching. Just what do you think?
No, this is really important because I have been into that area of the White House. This is
and
not
it's party time.
As much as they want to say, and don't forget the pot that they just said was found there last year, right? So everything that they're saying is that hundreds of people went through this area. No, I've been to that area. It is the most secure area anywhere because this is where I, on the National Security Council, with other members of national security, met with the president. You discussed the most secure things. I know the area where the locker is. People don't just go in and out of there. It is either the president, the vice president, cabinet, cabinet members, or deputy directors. Nobody else is going in there. There is some staff, but it's immediate to, I couldn't take any staff but my deputy. The president would take his chief of staff, very limited. So for them to say they don't know who this was, don't tell me there's no cameras in there. There are absolutely cameras in there. So I will tell you, I strongly believe this is a cover-up for either Hunter or someone very close to the president, and they don't want to say who it is. But the problem I have is now your answer is, oh, this isn't a big deal because, by the way, there was marijuana twice last year. Why didn't you do it?
Oh, go.
All right, so
I just thought of a hilarious meme while she was saying that.
Hold on a second. Let me hold on to it. So Tucker, I think Tucker is a little starstruck by Nikki Haley, at least a little smitten with her. She's a pretty lady, right? You can't sit next to Nikki Haley and not be like, she's brains and she's pretty, and that's cool. I don't think he hates her. I think he's trying to, he threw curveballs at every one of these candidates to take a position and not spin. I love that she took a position. She has no proof of that. But with the Secret Service's answer of, we couldn't find anyone, we found out who it was. They hunt down, the Secret Service is not just hunting down people who threaten the president. The Secret Service is also responsible for currency manipulation inside the United States and counterfeiting and other types of crimes, cyber crimes that are not FBI related, but are domestic terrorist related. Secret Service does an amazing job of hunting down with very little information. These are the best of police. And you can't tell me who has a dime bag of cocaine. Please, let's be honest. Leroy, tell us your meme.
I think you should make a graphic that is released with just put baking soda in it, and we'll put it in a cubby hole somewhere, and we'll take a picture, but on the side of it in giant black marker it will say Hunters.
Yeah,
we'll say this was just released. This is just released from the White House. We found it.
Yeah, I was like I was gonna make a shirt that says I went to the White House and I brought cocaine and all I got was a shirt or something like that.
Yeah,
just do something fun. Yeah. Who's got something about Nikki Haley? I'd love to get the ladies in the audience. Olivia, Amy, what are your thoughts? Who wants to go?
I didn't see how you were saying that she wasn't that great.
Just wait. I didn't say those words. That's not what I said.
Well,
I said Tucker sees her as a neocon and kind of like holds her at arm's length. When they get to the political questions, you'll see.
Okay.
But you know, we've got 3 videos, and it's all about perception. I think she was very animated, very energetic, and doesn't strike me as presidential. And I think she has to sell herself as presidential, because as a woman, she's automatically going to get tagged with the "you're emotional" thing just because she pees sitting down. Just let you know, guys are going to be like, she's a woman, I don't want a woman because she's emotional. Then you probably shouldn't be emotional with your answers. You should be energetic and passionate and driven. But she could have had a more poised answer and say, listen, I'm not here to discuss Biden's presidency. I'm here to discuss mine. And we know that Biden's presidency is horrendous. Why is there cocaine in the White House? We all have that question. But let me tell you what I'm going to make sure to stop it. Leroy, go ahead.
It's also easy to confuse enthusiasm with emotional, an emotional reaction. It's easy to mistake one for the other, almost like, you know, weakness versus just passion on the subject. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially when you're a woman too, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's fair. Let's listen to her second answer, and I think we'll expose some of the things that I've been talking about. This is about Nord Stream 2. Now, the reason why is Hunter asked her trapping questions. I mean, cocaine in the White House. What's your opinion on Nord Stream 2? Hunter, I love what he did. He did an amazing job. And he definitely was fair with all of the candidates. I don't think he likes Pence very much. But I don't, like, this isn't a question I would ask a presidential candidate. I would say, as a hypothetical, if you were in a situation with Ukraine and Russia and you were the United States, would you have hit Nord Stream 2 to send a message? That's a good question. But to sit here and say who was responsible for Nord Stream 2, I think you have to be very careful with that question. Let's listen to it, and you guys can tell me your takes, and also the audience, because I'm loving the audience participation in this show. It's wonderful so far. It's very, very good, strong, analytical, and logical questions. I like that. You guys are doing good. You guys get a cookie tonight.
Who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline?
Whoa.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm not claiming you did it.
Hey, it's Pete Hondup. This is the guy that was calling people Nazis. You can ban him anytime you want. I tried to ban this guy earlier. He's a loudmouth punk who has no testicle fortitude. And if he did, he would get on here. Testicular fortitude. Peter, if you'd like to come on here. And just because you have the name Pete doesn't mean you need to be a dick, Pete. I remember you. I remember everybody. You weren't too impressive when you were in chat, and you're not too impressive now. So if you have a sack, you can come on. Otherwise, my team's going to ban you. Okay, let's go.
Just kidding. No, I don't know. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Do you know who did it?
Seems pretty obvious. It was backed by the Biden administration, I would say. I mean, I think all the evidence suggests that, but I wasn't there. But I mean, that seems like a huge step. This is the largest industrial sabotage in history, sent more carbon in the atmosphere than any act ever. And like, there's weirdly no curiosity about who did it. And I think that's strange. Why do you think
there's a lot of things that are strange with the Biden administration. This isn't the first one.
I guess what I'm really saying is, if you were running against the Biden administration, to do something like that and shaft our closest allies in the world, which would be Western Europe, and deprive them of the energy they need to run their manufacturing sector and destroy their economy, which it is in the process of doing, like, that's a major sin to have done something like that. You just betrayed our allies, and no one on the right is accusing the Bidens of what they clearly did. So I don't know why.
So there's a couple of reasons why I didn't put her answer on there, because I want to not only show Nikki Haley, I want to show some of the biases from Tucker Carlson. Leroy and I have had opinion. I've done shows on this. I still think that there are several possibilities of what happened. I think the story that was released was completely bunk in regards to how it was done. Did the U.S. have involvement? I think Leroy and I have said, yes or no either way. I believe there's multiple people who could have executed this and done it for various reasons, including Russia, including the United States, including Ukraine, including some of our allies. But until I have incontrovertible evidence, I just would say, listen, Tucker, that question is a hypothetical. And I'm not here to really answer hypotheticals. Do I think that there's a benefit for the U.S. to do this? Yes. Ukraine to do this? Yes. Russia to do this? Yes. But I don't have that answer. And I think it's kind of disingenuous for you to ask me that question and expect me to have a valid answer. Now, if we just want to wax hypotheticals, we can do that, or we can talk about policy and what I would do if I was in this situation. That's Tucker's biases that I want to show you, and I don't like the question, and I think it was inappropriate to ask the question. Anybody else have a take on this?
No, I would actually have double stamped that. I would say it's none of, I'm not going to speculate here on your show. If we're talking about being the president, then part of that means we're talking about policy, not speculation. Next question.
Okay. Amy?
Just that simple.
Yeah, no, I don't really have anything to add. I think you both said it. I don't think it was a fair question. It doesn't showcase anything about what she's trying to convey as a potential candidate for president.
Yeah.
How would she know? How would she know? That's just like I don't know. It's just kind of.
Maybe she has a yacht.
It's a question you can't answer, because if you don't say it was the United States, all the people who think it is are going to vote against you. Right. Trump has locked onto this party, and I'm fine with that. But a lot of people want her to say one thing, or they're going to say, "Oh, well, she's a neocon, or she's a Democrat plant, or she's a rhino." And I'm like, folks, you don't have to agree with your candidate 100% of the time. I mean, if you believe that you agreed with every single thing that Trump said or did, well, then explain to me about vaccines. Okay, you can't. So what about bump stocks? What about certain requirements on Second Amendment? What about him saying take the weapons and then go ahead and have a reason to do it and get a warrant? Okay, you can't agree with everything Trump said. And if you do, well, you're being disingenuous. Olivia, your thoughts on the question? Is that a question you want to hear the answer to, or do you believe?
No, I mean, if you're being interviewed as a potential presidential candidate, I don't think asking about what your opinion and who blew up the Nord Stream is appropriate. Ask about policies, ask about stuff like that, what you want to do, but don't ask about an opinion like that.
Yeah, it's almost like we're litigating a case on Biden, and they should be presenting a case on why they should be president. I mean, that's my thing, right? Is tell me what you're going to do differently than Joe Biden, not a critique on Joe Biden, which we all know is a batshit lunacy of a presidency. Okay. Let's go into the other one. This one she got into some hot water for. And this was her answer on January 6th. And once again, I don't believe that Tucker gave her the same opportunities that he gave everybody else. It's not sexism. I just think that Tucker treated her differently and treated her as opposition, not as a possible true contender for the White House. And he does that. I've accused him of this on his show. He brings in fodder for his guests sometimes, okay? He brings them in just to shoot him down. And there's nothing that they can say that's going to make that interview go any other way than him destroying them on air. And that's my one critique of Tucker Carlson. And here we see that he gives her a 96-mile-an-hour fastball in the ear and then down and away slider.
I think that, to be fair, he should have asked similar questions to all of them.
He did. He seemed to give Nikki just a little bit more. He wasn't as sincere with her as he could be. Listen to this one, and then you tell me what you think. Am I overreacting?
Matt, are you trying to say that maybe when Tucker was questioning Nikki, that the questions and attitude towards her was a little more on the hardball side of things?
No,
versus
I think it was
everyone else?
opposite. I think he presented them as softballs because he was condescending, like, "Oh, come on, just answer the question," like he does, and he laughs through it, and it's almost like he's being condescending in his questions. Listen to this one, and you tell me what you think. Listen, I'll critique everybody, including Tucker Carlson. I'm not Tucker Carlson. He's smarter than me. He's not better looking, but he's definitely smarter. And richer too, and excellent at what he does. But it doesn't mean I still can't critique him, because who would I be if I couldn't actually say these are the things I think Tucker could do better? He crushed Pence. Like, he didn't give Pence any breathing room. Like, he went after Pence. But let's watch this first. All right, here we go.
As a mechanical question, it's not a trick question. It's just like the mechanics of it, something you're thinking about since you're running. I don't think anyone would say Joe Biden was a great candidate.
Carrie, I think that's a cop-out. Maybe Tucker knows more than we do. That's what people say about Trump. Whenever Trump makes a mistake or he does something wrong, that's because Trump knows he's playing 4D chess. I think that is a cop-out. It is weak to assume that I don't stay. Listen, Donald Trump does not have the ability to stay as informed as civilian press. Civilian journalists. If we do this full time, 60, 70 hours a week, we are dedicating all of our time to every bit of knowledge. Now, do they have some inside baseball? Of course they do. Of course they do. But to sit here and say that this entire process of the way he treats Nikki Haley is because he has some inside knowledge, it's very conspiratorial. It's what I expect from you, Carrie. It's what you do all the time, and I just disagree with it. For you to assume that with no evidence, I think is very reckless. And it really has no merit in the conversation, but that's just my personal opinion.
No.
Didn't campaign.
He didn't campaign at all.
He was not a figure who commanded respect among Democrats. They made fun of him. I'm not attacking the guy, but that's true.
Right.
Nobody in Washington said, I want my kid to grow up to be Joe Biden. And yet, at the end, he's got 81 million votes. 15 million more than Barack Obama, who, whatever you think of him, was a very talented politician, and I think smart. So, like, how did he do that? And what can we learn from that?
Well, what you can learn from it is what we did in South Carolina. I said in South Carolina, if you've got to show picture ID to buy Sudafed, if you've got to show picture ID to get on a plane, you should have to show picture ID to protect the integrity of the election process.
So
I do love Carrie, and that's why I continue to challenge her. And Carrie wrote me a very nice message this morning, and I love her for it. And I did not call on purpose because I want her to call into the show. I think this is a conversation that she needs to have here, and I think it would be an amazing one, and I would love to hear from her. But there's no animosity. I just believe that Carrie brings a certain element to that show, and most of it is very conspiratorial. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, because conspiracy is just one sliver away from truth in a lot of cases. However, I would feel remiss if I didn't call it out and say it's a scapegoat to simply say, well, Tucker knows more than us. Well, of course Tucker knows more than us. The question is, what does he know? And if you don't know he knows something, well, then we should probably just leave that argument on the table.
You know, and we have to make sure election integrity is something we don't ever stop. You have to continue over and over. We've had some states who've done some great things and they've put voter ID in place, and that's been great. We still have some other states who haven't done anything, and we need to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to. I mean, we saw during COVID, a lot of secretaries of state changed rules without getting state legislative support. We saw a lot of that happening. We saw a lot of mail-out balloting. We've got to make sure we continue to fight to make sure we have integrity in the election process. Because I saw at the United Nations, when you have your people lose faith in an election system, that's the first crack of a country falling apart. We have to keep fighting for this. We have to make sure we get it done.
Yes. So when I asked about this 81 million votes, you immediately said things I think I agree with about election integrity. Yeah. So are you suggesting that last election, it sounds like you're saying you don't think it was on the level.
Are you talking about the presidential?
That's correct, the presidential.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we all know that there were irregularities in there and that there were some issues that happened. We know that there was mail-out balloting that shouldn't have happened. Do I think that changed the results of the election? No. I mean, I think President Biden ended up winning the election. But I think at the end of the day, it showed we've got a lot of work to do in terms of election integrity.
So,
okay, now hold on a second, because this one's really interesting to me, because her and I are exactly in lockstep. In absolute lockstep. I have said the same thing repeatedly, that mail-in ballots were the crux of this election, but was not unconstitutional, but needs to be looked at. We've had this conversation. People hate that answer. All over social media they hate it. It's predominantly Trump supporters. And I think, because this is hard for me, because it's my answer, I have to stay out of this, because it is exactly in lockstep of what I say, what Mark Levin says, what a couple of other people said. So I want to get all your opinions, because my opinion on this is tainted. So I can't even talk about it. Who wants to go? Olivia, Amy?
I thought it was a great answer.
Okay, so why was it a great answer? I'm trying to help you, because these, hold on a second. Monosyllabic responses don't do anything. Like, it was good. Okay, great. Why was it good? What was it about it that you loved?
Because I agree with it.
Why do you agree with it?
I don't know how to say that. I just agree with it. I I'm kind of on the same level as you with thinking about the election.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think any of her answers had merit? What do you think her solutions to those problems, specifically voter ID, will that shore up the issues?
I don't know. I don't know. I would hope so, but it's got to be up to the states. It's not a federal thing. Each state has their own thing. So
Yeah, that's a good answer.
So it's unfortunately the president's not going to be able to do anything about it unless they can talk to the governors and convince the governors that voter ID really does need to. It's something that needs to happen, but it's really not up to the president.
Yeah, and if you think about it, then you would have to split the election, right? That you would have to, because we vote differently for the federal election when it comes to the president, and it's the only one where we have the electoral college versus state legislature, senators, gubernatorial, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a really good point is, would voter ID work? Yes, absolutely. Does South Carolina have very strict voting? Yes, it absolutely did. And to the point almost where it limited people voting because some people moved into town within a certain period of time. Some people did not have the proper ID that was vettable versus a previous ID that was issued by the DMV. There's a lot of things that happen with regulation in South Carolina, which may be too strict, because ultimately as many people possible should be the ultimate goal, to have as many people possible voting. Who else has a take on this?
Yeah.
Leroy, go.
So I would have actually hit up two different points on this. First of all, the fact that she acknowledged that there was some level of, in her words, irregularity in the last election, I thought was very smart. It conceded the point that there were problems. And so from there, the next logical step should probably have been stated to kind of lay down how your policies would look moving forward, i.e., look, if voting in this country, if one of the legal requirements of voting in this country is that you are a citizen, then how are we as the federal government going to kind of hold accountable the states to say that you need to make sure, legally, you need to make sure that everyone that's voting is in fact a citizen. And of the many ways that can be done, you know, the simplest, the cheapest is in fact voter ID. Now, and again, I mean, that's not trying to disenfranchise large swaths of the population. That's basically say, look, we need to make sure that you're a citizen first, because that is a requirement. That's what I would do.
I think you make some good points. I would extend it. I would absolutely say voter ID is essential on all 50 states, and make the federal ballot a minimal ballot where you would have to fill out the presidential and you would receive that. But if you could not provide ID or not provide some sort of identification that demonstrates you live in the state, that you can participate in the federal election, but you can't participate in the state and local election. I think it's...
You took my answer, dang it.
Oh, damn it, Amy. I'm so sorry. Go ahead. No, expand on it. I'll shut up. Expand on it.
No, that's exactly that was totally my answer. It's like, on a federal level, anyone who is a United States citizen who has proper ID, who can prove they're a citizen, should be able to vote. And someone had said, I forget which state it was in, but they had moved and they couldn't vote. And because they weren't there 60 days. And again, it's a federal election, you should be allowed to vote. If it's a local election, I agree with those rules, because you haven't lived in that area long enough to really know and get a feel for the candidates and what you want changed or not changed wherever you're living. So I absolutely agree with it 100%. I totally think it should be federal voter ID. You know, anyone can vote. You have to have a freaking license or whatever, picture photo ID, like a passport, and locally. I don't know. Maybe it's not so strict. Maybe you have a utility bill that you can prove where you live in that district or something. I don't know, but maybe it's less strict.
You could pre-register, right? I mean, federal pre-registering for a federal election would be, oh my God, would be incredibly difficult. There's two other things I want to bring up, and I love everybody's points. I mean, gosh, we should write this down. Olivia said it best. I love that. It gave me goosebumps when she's like, let's go back to the 10th Amendment. It goes back to the states, and it really should. But there's several other things we need to address that I don't hear enough of. Voter registration. There are outdated voter registrations all over the country. Every single state suffers from horribly outdated voter registration based off the recent census. The amount of representation that they have needs to be addressed. Voter registration needs to be cleaned up for out-of-state moves, for illegal immigrants, for so many other things. We have to change the way we do the census, and we have to start asking illegal immigrants and not use it as a vindictive or a retributional type ask that question. It's simply to make sure that we have the right numbers of votes that people aren't getting to vote. If they want to work in this country, if they want to do this, fine. You can solve that problem alone, but they should not be able to vote in this country in any way, shape, or form. So you got to get voter registration and voter registry taken care of. And the last thing, in my personal opinion, and I truly believe this, is you have to remove political influence from all voting places. No more 150-foot rule, no more 50-foot rule. Simply, you are not allowed to campaign at a voting place in any way, shape, or form. It creates dissension. It creates intimidation. A lot of people don't want to walk by the RNC tent or the GOP tent or the DNC tent because it makes them feel nervous. They turn around and they go the other way. Voter intimidation is a real thing, and it happens in the United States. The last thing I would say is all mail-in ballots or all ballots that are going to be absentee should no longer be mailed, should actually be digitally done. There will be a window early done, and they should be digital. It's a very large sample size, but it would take away the stress of these polling places of having massive counts, delays in counting, by digitally creating a system for all military to do a digital entry for voting. And also all mail-in ballots are no longer, they are certifiable to a digit. It is done by VPN. It is done by a code that randomly generates every minute, and it is only to that person. If we can go ahead and protect World of Warcraft accounts from Korea and China, we can protect this election. Trust me. It's not that hard. So those are my opinions on what we should do. And somebody needs to say that instead of saying, let's go ahead and relitigate the 2020 election. Let's talk about what we're going to do in 2024. Let's talk about what we're going to do in 2026 and 2028. We've got to get our elections handled. If we can send a person to the moon, we should be able to do this. Any comments on that before we move on to Michael Pence?
No, that sounded good.
All right, damn it.
Mike Pence. Let's do it.
Michael, Vice President Mike Pence, former Vice President. This is his question about priests in Ukraine. Tucker went after Mike Pence pretty damn hard, folks. He came out swinging. Listen to this. This is about Zelensky rounding up priests of different religions in Ukraine.
Around the world. I'm confused. On this question, it's very clear that the Zelensky government has arrested priests for having views they disagree with. That's not consistent with religious liberty. It's an attack on it, and we're funding it. And I'm just wondering how is it, and I don't mean to be disrespectful at all, but I sincerely wonder how a Christian leader could support the arrest of Christians for having different views.
Well, what I can tell you is I asked the Christian leader in Kiev if that was in fact happening, and he assured me that it was not. People were not being persecuted for their religious beliefs around the world.
So, yeah, go ahead, Ames. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't know if I would believe someone who was in the middle of a war zone who's probably threatened. You don't tell the truth that we are rounding up people and murdering them or whatever whatever the case is. I wouldn't buy it. That's just my opinion.
Well,
I'd save my last before
listen, Ukraine is a state-run media too, folks, and you can sit here and pretend it's not, that it's all about free and democracy. There's a reason why they weren't in the UN, okay? They weren't in the UN for a reason, because they didn't qualify for it. The level of corruption, humanitarian crisis. There was a lot of things that they didn't qualify for, and they were not allowed in the UN. Once again, I've said it before, Erdogan and Turkey are in the UN. And that country has one of the worst civil rights and humanitarian records on the effing planet, almost bad as China, and they're in the UN and haven't been kicked out. They had a coup, an unstable government. They assassinated and hung generals on national TV in Turkey, and they're in the UN. Or excuse me, UN, geez, Matt, NATO, and Ukraine isn't. How bad must Ukraine be if they're not given acceptance? And remember, they applied during 2014. So to sit here and say that Ukraine is fresh as driven snow, this is why I say I'm not pro-Russia. Screw Russia. But doesn't mean I have to be pro-Ukraine just because my enemy. Just because the enemy of my enemy is not my friend. That's not the way it works. It's a nice, beautiful thing when you're in high school, but not in the global stage. Leroy, go ahead.
There's a lot that happens to make a country part of NATO. There's a lot of qualifications. There's a lot of things that have to happen. What a lot of people don't realize is that one of those qualifications is that during your application process, you have to acknowledge that you don't have any border disputes going on from any of your neighbors.
Right.
So it's not like Ukraine has been able to claim that since 2014, which ironically is when I think they tried to get in.
Correct. They did try to get in NATO in 2014. That's correct.
They
tried to do it with Bill Clinton when they gave up the nukes, but that they were just as bad as they are in 2014.
Right. And so there's no chance that they're not going to have some level of border dispute with Russia now. It is unlikely they will ever see,
they're not getting into NATO. They're not getting into NATO. And this is what is going to drive, this is what's going to drive Zelensky to go against one of our allies or the United States in a conflict. I'm telling you right now, I've said it, within the next decade, we will be fighting Zelensky if Zelensky is still in power. Because ultimately, I think they're going to slip something in his drink from Russia at some point, even if this thing is signed off. That's just Putin's MO. Putin will get Zelensky. Trust me, he will get Zelensky.
He'll have an accident and he'll fall in the shower like
he'll
5 times on a night.
He'll fall on some bullets. So something will happen to Zelensky. This is what Putin does. It's his MO. And he'll get his day. But the whole point is I believe will be an open conflict. If Zelensky is taken out, any goodwill that we had, they'll be taken over by a mob boss type mentality. It'll be a dictator. It'll be an Erdogan. It'll be somebody like that.
Another oligarch.
Yeah, it'll be an oligarch, and it will be a Russian oligarch who will show sympathy for the Ukrainian people and the Jesuits and the Orthodox and all of the Christians, but ultimately will be an oligarch in Putin's pocket. That's what's going to happen. So we can sit here and pretend that this is going to come out like smelling like sweet rain. Folks, you haven't read a history book. I've been saying that I'll see you in 10 years. If I'm still doing this, and you can come talk to me. And the day that we have to go ahead and get involved in Ukraine and run a proxy for a border country of Ukraine that has to free a certain region of Ukraine that is splintered off and is in civil war, you just mark my words, because it's going to happen. And everyone who knows anything about this knows this is going to happen. All right. That answer from Mike Pence, I got to give him credit. I got to give Mike Pence credit. He stuck to his guns today. His answers were horrendous. This one is probably the worst. Now, some people are taking this out of context. Mike Pence has posted a video trying to make this sound better by posting the whole 1 minute and 43 seconds. Trust me, it ain't better. Listen to this.
January, we'll let somebody transfer some jets.
I'm sorry, Mr. Vice President. I know you're running for president. You are distressed that the Ukrainians don't have enough.
Pence doesn't like Tucker at all. You can say thanks for. I mean, have you ever seen Mike Pence get sassy? He just doesn't.
No.
I mean, he didn't even yell at the fly that was on his head in the debate. For gosh sakes,
American tanks. Every city in the United States has become much worse over the past 3 years.
Yeah.
Drive around. There's not one city that's gotten better in the United States, and it's visible. Our economy has degraded.
He hates him. He hates Tucker Carlson. You can tell. He hates this guy. He's obnoxious. He's blah, blah. And you know what? That's because Mike Pence doesn't have the answers. Tucker Carlson will not let him off the hook. He will not let him be what he is, which is a prosthetic mouthpiece for the Christian right. He won't let him do it. He's not going to let him do that because everyone else, this is what Mike Pence does. You ready? Leroy, ask me a question. Don't care what it is. Just give me a question. Any question.
What color is
political?
Matt?
Wait, no, political.
You believe in higher taxes or lower taxes, Matt?
You know, that is a fantastic point that I once talked to Betty when we were younger kids and we would sit on the porch and drink lemonade together. And when I go ahead and I think of those days, I think of that creaking porch and the modest, humble beginnings that we started at sipping on that lemonade when we didn't have enough sugar. I'll tell you, it reminds me of the money that we have is so important. And as your president, I truly believe that lemonade is important to you as it is to me, and I want to make sure everyone gets a glass.
Yeah.
That's Mike Pence. And Tucker Carlson won't let him do it. And if I was next to him, I wouldn't let him do it.
Well, because
I would
those are
say,
deflections.
put the Bible away, loosen your tie, and answer the effing question. Go ahead.
Right. Well, and because being a politician, at least in part, requires some agility up there behind the mic, some level to put up a shield and give some deflection, right? And to Matt's point, when you don't have a lot in terms of the bullets in your gun that you could use to fire back and defend yourself, then that's exactly what you're going to do. You're going to go off topic. You're going to do the lemonade thing like what Matt just described. And that's just not good enough. I want to know your policies.
Yeah.
I want to know what the results are that you are promising to the people, because what this is essentially is Tucker Carlson is interviewing Mike Pence for a job.
Yeah,
it is a
that's right.
job interview, and it is his job to tell us why his policies are going to steer
point.
the United States onto the correct path.
That's
and
right.
Pence
So
is
good.
deflecting.
So
That
good.
sucks.
It's perfect. It's wrap it, bow it, seal it. Can't make it any better. It's an amazing statement. Amy, go ahead.
No, I don't know what else to contribute. Honestly,
Oh, I thought you had something.
Oh no, I was just
I'm
saying,
sorry.
like, yeah, I totally agree.
He always
No.
contributes. I love Amy.
No, I just thought I thought she had something to say. No, it's fine. It's just it's hard to disagree with. Mike Pence, let me just explain it. Mike Pence can't lie to people because that's what he's going to need to do, because his record is that he trashed Trump for a year and a half and warranted. I mean, Trump discarded Mike Pence to the side, and I kind of feel bad for Pence. I don't like Mike Pence. I think Mike Pence is everything that's wrong. I believe he's uniparty. I believe he is the 2014 Tea Party that was completely religious zealots like the Michelle Bachmans and the Paul Ryans. I think he's a dinosaur and he needs to be out of politics. But I do respect the man for doing what I believe he absolutely should have done on January 6th. And anybody that wants to debate me on that, call into the show. I'd love to have that conversation with you. All I'm going to ask you to do is do what nobody asks you. Just give me the line in the Constitution that says that he can overturn an election. Just tell me that. Show me in the Constitution where it says that. Show me Article 3. Tell me you do that, I'll walk away. I'll tell you I'm sorry. You can't. So the conversation's over. You can hypothetical, you can wax cases from 1786 and all that shit. It's not going to work. Simply show me the line in the Constitution that says the president, the vice president of the United States can usurp the power of the American people, which is what the founding fathers created the Constitution and the Bill of Rights to begin with, because they didn't trust the government. So they're going to give the vice president the power to overturn an election. That doesn't make any sense. That's like saying they wanted to regulate the Second Amendment. Well, then if they did, they certainly wouldn't have given the states the 10th to protect every single right against the federal government. Let's be honest. Stop. Mike Pence is not an evil man. Mike Pence didn't fail Trump. Trump bashed him like he always does to everybody that Trump disagrees with, and that's him, whether you like that or not. I don't care. It's just the truth.
Right.
Trump demands loyalty. He doesn't necessarily give it. And that's Donald Trump. You either like that or you don't. I perhaps think it's a ridiculous standard to meet. I would never work for Donald Trump. People said, why don't you go write for him? Why don't you be a speechwriter? Not a freaking chance. Why? Because I don't want to be the villain. I don't want to have 81 million people want to kill me because Donald Trump decides to turn on me. No way. No, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. All right. Next. Mike Pence on J6. This one This one's he doesn't like Tucker.
Hairier.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't like him. He doesn't like him. All right, let's listen to this.
January 6th.
Oops, sorry about that. Hold on. Do. This is fun. I like doing this. All right, here we go.
What was that? Do you think that was an insurrection?
Well, first, can I just take a moment just to say thank you to the family leader?
Oh my
Bob Vanderplatz.
Here comes the lemonade. Here comes.
Where's my
Open
lemonade?
up. Open up. Lemonades are coming.
Look at Tucker's face. Look at his face.
I know.
His face is priceless. Yeah, that's
On my
priceless.
front porch. Dude, and this is what I told you. Tucker wouldn't let him do it. He would not let him do this.
Whole team here. And to our friends at Blaze TV, including my old friend Glenn Beck, we're standing here on a historic day in Iowa, when in just a few short hours, Governor Kim Reynolds would take to this stage and sign into law historic protections for the unborn. And I think all the members of the family leader here in Iowa prayed and worked and fought to bring us to this day.
Lemonade, folks.
And it's an honor to be with you all.
When life
It really
gives you
is.
Mike Pence, you make lemonade.
What the heck did that?
Just wait.
Answer the question.
Just wait. Look at Tucker.
Now, as to that day, let me just say, all I know for sure, having lived through it at the Capitol, is that it was a tragic day. I've never used the word insurrection, Tucker, over the last 2 years, but it was a riot that took place at the Capitol that day.
It was a riot that took place that day.
Okay.
You
could have led with that, right?
Yeah.
You could have saved everyone about 15 minutes, right, of life that they're never going to get back from listening to Race Bannon talk
Yes.
about, these deflections.
Yes. It's like the pizza guy who delivers it to your house. You're like, hey, is that my pizza?
It wasn't an
And he's like,
insurrection. It was a riot. Just say
that's
it.
right.
I think
Folks.
it's a gap filler. He needs to think about what he's going to say, so he's got to put something in there.
I think that's a very safe assumption. I think Mike Pence was masterful in his debates against Tim Kaine. ¿Dónde está aquí? Tim Kaine. Right? The whitest Mexican ever, except
Tim
for
Kaine.
Robert O'Rourke, Beto O'Rourke. So he crushed him. And then he crushed Kamala. You going to let me finish? You going to let me finish? Sure. I mean, he just crushed. Mike Pence was an amazing vice president. You know what? I will fight any Republican Trump supporter who wants to come and argue with me, because Mike Pence crushed it as VP. I thought he was one of the best VPs we've had in a long time. And yes, he's Magoo. And yes, but he was the antithetical version. Like when you had too much Trump, it's kind of like when you're drinking tequila, right? You're like, oof, oof. And you're just down in Trump tequila, and then you got to put it down at some point and say, you know what, I just need a beer. Somebody get me a Bud Light.
A Bud
right?
Light?
Yeah. And Mike Pence comes out with Dylan Mulvaney. Hi. Hi. And you get a Bud Light, and you're just like, oh, this Bud Light tastes good. And thank God, because that tequila was ready to put me under. And then you go back to the tequila when you want to light it up again. Mike Pence was Bud Light to Donald Trump. He gave us a little bit of just like, okay, Donald, you're going a little effing crazy. You're going to have to dial it back right now. And then Mike Pence comes out and he's like, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about the lemonade. And you're like, oh, thank God we got lemonade. We got lemon brewed beer, lemon microbrew. We've
Ladies
got
and gentlemen,
cows. Can I get a
I'd
cow
like to
sound?
acknowledge the members in the audience who were there on January the 6th, the riot. Just this long, protracted answers, man. Just spit it out.
It's
Cut
just
the
answer,
foreplay
buddy.
and just say it,
Yeah, let's rip off the dress, buddy. We're going to go to bed. We're going to go to bed.
Yeah.
You don't have to pretend. So that was not the best. That was not the best. Right. He was an easily forgotten VP. Amy said it best. It's so true. Sorry about me knocking over the firearm there. He just easily forgotten VP, but he did great things. He really did. He was great for foreign relations. He went overseas, did a good job. He was great on the COVID task force. I thought he did wonderful on that. He was wonderful on the border. And also when Grab Him by the Pussy came out and all the other stuff, Russian collusion, he stood by Trump. He was loyal to Trump, and Trump threw him to the wolves threw him to the wolves. And you can sit here and say that he didn't. But you know what? You know Trump was wrong. And I'm just going to tell you why. And you can sit here and hate me and say you don't want to watch the show anymore and I'm a rhino. But I don't care. I don't take another man into my mouth. And I'm not going to certainly do it with Donald Trump. The thing, is because Trump has backpedaled on Pence. He said nice things about Pence. Because honestly, that's what Trump does. He had to look for someone to blame, and he blamed Pence. And Pence was like, "What the hell just happened? What? How did I become the bad guy?"
He looked defeated that day.
Yeah, he looks defeated now. I mean, he looks defeated now. All right, here we go. Let's Vivek Ramaswamy. And this guy, a lot of people like this guy. And by the way, if I see one more person say Trump and RFK Jr., I told you, I exposed RFK Jr. He is a gun grabber. He just said it again. He wants to ban semi-automatic weapons. Have you not been paying attention? RFK is not a Republican. What the hell's wrong with you people? Why? Because he has a six-pack and he's buff and, he says some things that are somewhat, right-wing.
At the way, at the way people look is irrelevant. Right? Doesn't matter if it's Hillary Clinton or if it's
it
RFK.
matters if it's Hillary.
It doesn't
Come
matter.
on. It matters if it's Hillary Clinton. I can't look at her. I can't look at her, dude. That chick is okay. Go ahead.
What I'm saying is that more than anything, we need to get away from how people present and look at their policies. That's what's important.
Donald Trump is sexy. Well, that was some weird shit.
Hot sauce.
I hate men.
Yes.
I hate men.
You do. I know you do.
I'm just saying, dude, you want to listen to that shit? I would rather I'd rather listen to my mother. And that's saying something. That's like okay. Here's Vivek.
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Yeah, Vivek. I hear you. Vivek has listen. He's not ready for president, and there's no way he's going to be president. This guy's not ready. He's and when people are like, Tim Scott's not ready. No. This is an example of not ready. He's not ready. He is extremely intelligent. He would make an amazing trying to think. I can't see him as Secretary of Defense. I think he would piss off too many foreign countries.
Secretary of State?
Yeah, he's certainly not Secretary of State because he would piss off too many countries. Secretary of Defense, I don't think he has the command presence for it. I would see him as a great chief of staff. He would be a great chief of staff because he's going to give you the opposite viewpoint that you don't want to hear. And that's what every chief of staff should do for the president. He needs to be the voice of opposition in the room. He needs to be the seventh man in the room. He's not ready. But I'm going to give him his due and let you listen to him because I think everyone should listen to him because he's got great points. Here he is.
If we're willing to take the shackles off a little bit, relax a little bit on identity can be confining. Right? The left does this masterfully. You're black, therefore you can't achieve something. You're a woman, therefore you can't achieve something. Mm-hmm. Identity's confining. You can be imprisoned in the identities that you inherit. And I just want to be careful that we learn from the left, or learn including what not to do, to be confined and imprisoned by our own identity of what it means to be Republican. Let's just let that word go and instead ask the question of what it actually means to be an American today. That's the question of our time.
Look at Tucker.
And you ask people my age that question, you get like a deer in the headlights response. It's like it's
like
a blank
what Tucker's
stare
doing right
initially.
now.
But on the other side of that is then an introspection to say, okay, there are certain ideals that we fought a revolution for in this country. Self-governance over aristocracy, sovereignty as a nation, free speech, meritocracy. That you get ahead in this country not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and contributions. That's what it means to be an
Nothing wrong with stealing Martin Luther King, man. I mean, if you're going to do it, you might as well aim high.
American. That's what we're running to. And honest to God, Tucker, I think that if we do this right, if we actually prioritize our vision, what we stand for, I think it's going to be a landslide election for I'm not going to say a Republican candidate, a pro-American candidate in this race.
It's just
It's a good answer.
I like him.
I felt like I was watching a TED Talk.
Oh, hold on. Olivia's got a take. Hold on. Go ahead, Liv.
I felt like I was watching a TED Talk, and I kept thinking back to watching the when you worked for Apple
Oh,
and we watched the Apple releases.
Self-efficacy.
So it felt like I was watching.
Oh, you're watching. No,
the Apple
hold on a second. Hold on a second. It felt like rolled aluminium with a crystal touch screen display that is supalescent like a breast as you push the buttons. As you slightly indent the button. The phone reaches back out to you, making a human connection that only Apple can do. Something like that.
Yeah, I just pictured him in a black turtleneck with jeans holding an iPhone walking onto the stage. That's what I pictured him as.
Tim Cook, Johnny Ive, two presidents, and Steve Wozniak were in a conference, and I did that voice. And my regional leader went to Tim Cook and said that I do a killer Johnny Ive. And in front of 3,000 Apple leaders, I stood up and I was handed the microphone, and Tim's like, yes. And Ethan was just born. And I told him, I said, I'm honored to be here at the conference. And my son was born. And they're like, what are you doing here? You need to go. That's just the way Apple was. And then Roseanne comes over and she goes, he can do Johnny Ive better than just about anybody. And Tim goes, I've heard that. Go ahead. And I'm like, he's like, but do it presenting your son as a commercial. Oh. And I said,
do it.
Ethan was born
slowly.
Right as sweat glistened off her brow. The nurse came over and gently patted with Egyptian cotton, taken from the wonderful plains of Mount Sinai, where Moses came down upon parchment and brought the word of Ethan to the people. And then Johnny Ive's over there just like, Tim fucking laughing, the whole panel's laughing. Johnny Ive, I got the death glare from Sir Johnny Ive. Sir Johnny Ive. Here it is. Here's the next one. This is about business, about being a billionaire and being entitled. These were two of his best answers. Here they are.
Regardless of the color of your skin, how are we going to be a country that ensures opportunity? Black, white, man, woman, doesn't matter. You know, my parents came to this country with almost no money. I've gone on to found multi-billion-dollar companies. And then people tell me, oh, that's because you had privilege. They tell me white privilege. It's sort of weird. It's sort of an interesting. It's kind of interesting.
Do you tell them?
As I take the blindfold off, and now you have your answer. But the interesting answer is, actually what I do tell him, Tucker, is that I did have privilege. I didn't grow up in money, but I had two parents in the house, a mother and a father, with a focus on education and a faith in God. And you know what? That is the ultimate privilege. That if I'm going to enjoy that, every kid in this country ought to enjoy it too.
Oh, okay.
I like the guy. He gets it.
I do too. I like him very much.
It was a good answer.
And we lost Amy.
Yes, we did.
That's
She
okay.
lost her internet.
I like him very much. If I want a professor who is going to give me conservative courses, I like him very much. His answers are pro-American. They are conservative based through Christian Judeo ethics.
Sure.
They are federalist or anti-federalist through and through. He would be loved by some of the founding fathers. And he reeks of a constitutionalist. But he's not ready for president. Because those views are fantastic and they get the blood pumping. He's Ronald Reagan without the massive substance. I'm just telling you. He's Ronald Reagan without the massive substance. Every time I hear him speak, I'm like, you are reciting what other people have said. I want to hear what you have to say. I want your original thought. I want your morning on the hill. I want your light shining upon. Hold on, Leroy. I see your fingers moving. Pretend like we're in class. I see you jumping out of your seat. I'm going to get to you in a second. Just saying, dude.
Little Johnny's jumping out of his
Little
seat.
fucking little Johnny.
Answer the question.
Me. So I just want the original thought, okay? And I hear a lot of things that have been said, and he is fantastic at reciting PragerU. He's fast. He's great at doing Jordan Peterson. I just don't know if he's real, and I got to hear some substance with all of that red-blooded apple pie and rock and roll. Okay, Leroy, now is your. I've done very well going to you tonight, so I don't want to hear any eye rolling from you. Go ahead, buddy.
How are you here an eye roll for one?
Because
matter.
It's you. Because it's
turn.
you.
My
it's
turn.
You.
You can sit now.
That's not how. Okay. So anyway, someone forgot that I have the mute button. Number one. So number two.
I'm thinking about Dr. Evil and Austin Powers right now.
$1 billion. Go ahead.
So
yeah. Gotta get a preemptive. All right. Go ahead, Leroy. Exactly. Go ahead, buddy.
I think I absolutely see what you're saying, and I think I can put a little polish on it. What Vivek does is he gives everyone that, to your point, that red, white, and blue rah American speech, right? But where he lacks, and I think this is where you and I are going to agree on a lot of this stuff, is he's great at giving the front end of that speech without necessarily saying, how are we going to get there? It's one thing to say you've got a goal. It's another to say, this is the goal and this is the roadmap on how we're going to get there.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference.
Dude, best comment of the night. Shirley Butler goes, reclaim your time, Leroy. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to reclaim my time. That was very well struck. Very well struck. I love where this is going. This is when I wanted a show, this is what I wanted. I want a show like this. I wanted a show that was full of substance, with critique, with ideas. And I hope the candidates watch. I'm sure they won't. But I would love to get any one of them on to have this conversation and provide this feedback. Tucker was hands off of Vivek because I think Tucker likes him the most. Because I think they're very closely aligned in the red, white, and blue, and, you know, the anti-federalist, constitutionalist focus, Christian conservative type. This is Tucker's candidate. And I think Tucker was listening intently, but also knowing that what's he going to say to that? How is Tucker going to combat that? No, I disagree with everything that I say on my show nightly that you just said. I don't think. I think Vivek plays to the crowd. That's all. He plays to the crowd. And I believe if there was a libertarian there, the answer would more have been deregulation and anti, nationalism is a focus and populism is a focus, but global populism is not. Trade restrictions should not be happening. Free market capitalism. I think if he was in front of a libertarian, he would have switched gears. And I think if he was in a Democrat, he would talk about classic liberalism. And he would talk about how Republicans and conservatives were found in classic liberalism and we're not too far apart on many issues. That's my problem.
You're still talking about Tucker, right?
No, I'm talking about Vivek. I think Vivek would curtail his message based upon wherever he was, what room he was sitting in. That's my point. Sorry. Tucker is, you only get one brand of Tucker, and that is he either agrees with you or he doesn't. And if he agrees with you, you're going to be fine. And if he doesn't, you're fuck sword. That's my thoughts.
Democrats piss me off. Democrats piss me off.
All right. Now we get to the good one. We get to Ron DeSantis. We've lost Amy. We've lost Olivia. Amy's internet.
What the hell?
Let's do this. DeSantis.
They didn't have any dirt on any of the Clintons, did they? Like, they didn't disappear for good, right?
What do you mean, Clintons? I don't understand. What are you talking about? Oh, Amy and Olivia? Oh, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, Hillary Clinton, she is kind of feisty, man. I don't know. So,
would you rather your child had feminism or cancer?
Charlene says, Matt, Tucker needs to come to your show. Tucker would not like me. You can't. Okay, hold on. Tucker has a nuclear reactor that he can pull the switch anytime. And that is to overtalk. I love you.
Love you.
To overtalk and patronize his guest if he wants to. And the moment that he would do that to me, I would look at him and say, I don't care how many fucking millions you're worth. You talk to me like that again, I'm going to put my fist down your throat. If he ever spoke to me like he talks to some people, I would just kick him right in the ass out of my house. If he could talk to me like he truly respects my opinion, like he talked to Russell Brand, because I thought that was a great interview. If he could talk to me like that, I would love to sit down with Tucker. But if Tucker had an axe to grind with me, him and I would not like each other. It would be like Joe Rogan. It would be like Joe Rogan and that COVID doctor guy. If Tucker doesn't like you, you're not getting out of that room alive. And I believe that he would wax the floor with me in that situation because I'm not going to attack his character. I admire him. I like Tucker Carlson. I like who he is, but he is a master at just irritating somebody to the point where they blow up. And I'm pretty confident he could push my buttons. Leroy, go ahead.
Well, and so there's a difference between having a debate where one is basically trying to prove that their point of view is superior to the other guys in some way. There's a difference between having a debate and having a conversation. And when you're having a conversation, there's something called like active listening. And that's where you're not just waiting for your turn to speak. You're listening to what the other guy has to say and you're responding based off of that. That's a conversation. Yeah. And so I think I know where you're headed, Matt, and I get it. And you shouldn't. No, nobody should attack anybody else's character, especially in a debate, because that just kind of proves that you kind of need to come up with better points. But that being said, I don't think that Tucker. I think you do fine against Tucker. I think a lot of times there may be some personality differences, some chemistry differences, but at the end of the day, I think that you would both kind of understand how conservatism works and would basically see the long distance goals and go, yeah, I can get behind that. You know what I mean?
I do, but there's one area that Tucker and I completely differ, and that's on conspiratorial nonsense. And I like when he does the UFO stuff. I just want to punch myself in the face. When he talks about Bigfoot, I just like, dude, you lose all credibility with me. That stuff bothers me. And I would, when he would do that and start not staying on point and talking with exculpatory evidence and fact, and would start conjecture and supposition. I have a lawyer's mind. I've always had a lawyer's mind, and I have to, you know how I am, Leroy. You're the same way. Don't tell me that when Tucker started doing that stuff, you just want to be like, dude, seriously, just stop. You're discrediting yourself. I don't want to talk about Martians. I don't want to talk about that stuff. Let's stay focused on what we're talking about. But that's it. I like Tucker. I would be intimidated by Tucker. I think anybody who would not be intimidated by Jordan Peterson, Tucker Carlson, Mark Levin, Joe Rogan, Russell Brand, Bill Maher are completely completely underestimating their capabilities. Completely underestimating their capabilities. I might have a great conversation with Tucker, but I'm not going to walk in there thinking I'm going to. I'm going to walk in there prepared to get my ass handed to me, and that's probably why maybe it would be successful. I don't know. Okay. People say I'm not giving myself enough credit of being poised if you're confronted and disagree. Debbie, if he does that condescending little laugh and he does that would drive me crazy. That thing, yeah. He does that shit. I'd be like, hey, fuckhead. Fuck. Seriously, bro? What did I say that was so funny? What did I say that was so funny? What is it that's so hilarious?
What's funny about me?
What's funny? Am I funny like a fucking clown? Is that what you're saying? I'm funny like a clown? Am I here to entertain you? I got my little red nose. What are you trying to say? I don't know, man. You better stop it. I guess a little bit. Just a little bit.
You're a funny guy.
You're a funny guy. Funny guy. Like what? Like a fucking clown? Pro Russia, Ron DeSantis. Just because I'm questioning Ukraine doesn't mean I'm a pro-Russia. Listen to this.
I served in Iraq.
Here we go. Listen to this. Liv, I want you to really listen to this because this is
That is not a good frozen screen.
Iraq during the Iraq campaign in Fallujah. I served in Iraq during the Iraq campaign in Fallujah. I was attached to U.S. Navy SEAL Team 1. And remember, it started on what WMD. Then we had.
If I ever ran for public office, I would never, ever talk about my service with the teams because it looks like you're trading on the name. I would never say, I work with Team 2.
Well, it's like you're pandering.
Yeah, I worked with
You're
them.
trying to use their position to elevate yourself.
Yeah, horrible thing. Horrible choice. I would never, just because he did it, you don't need to say it. The supporters who care about that stuff already know you did. It's like you wearing a trident and say this is in support of, no, dude, whoa. No. Negative. You're not a SEAL. You never were a SEAL. You're a JAG officer. I wasn't a SEAL. Leroy's not a SEAL. We've both worked with the teams. We're not SEALs. Okay? I got SEAL friends. I'm not a SEAL. Never was a SEAL. So knock it off.
Had Al-Qaeda in Iraq. Then it was create a democracy. Then it was that. And so the lesson that I learned from there is if you're going to commit to do military, whether it's aid or whether it's troops, you need to have a concrete idea of what you're trying to achieve. And so from the time I got out of the sandbox and landed back in the United States 15 years ago until the present.
Shirlene, I just want to ask you, have you ever told anyone to calm down and that actually works? I'm completely calm. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm the calmest that I've been in years. I think Olivia will tell you.
What did she say?
I don't know. She's like, Matt, calm down. I'm not animated. I'm just making fun of Tucker a little bit.
Voices.
Yeah, I'm joking around. No, it's a movie. It's Joe Pesci from a movie. It's called Goodfellas, and Ray Liotta and Robert De Niro.
It didn't dawn on me that some people wouldn't get that reference.
Oh my God, really? How can you not?
I don't know.
Guys,
it didn't dawn on me.
Yeah, I'm not mad. I'm doing impersonations. That's just what I do. A little bit, Robert De Niro. Come on.
Who said
I've
that?
always felt that.
What?
Who
Robert
said
De
that?
Niro
It
always-
was,
Oh, it was Shirlene.
No.
She-
Who told you to calm down?
Shirlene did, but I think she
Shirlene,
was.
Shirlene, you
yeah.
gotta watch Goodfellas.
Kristen says, "Shirlene, you must be new. Welcome," which is so true because, you'll get to know my sense of humor. I'm not mad at all, and I was just teasing. You funny like a.
Watch
Italian-
Goodfellas, Shirley, then you'll get the joke.
Yeah, it's an Italian thing. It's dude, make him an offer he can't refuse. That type of stuff. Okay, here we go.
And so my critique of the DC foreign policy elite is that they are doing a blank check policy without telling us when we will have achieved our objective. And I believe that today, and I believe that then. Now, because you dissent from the DC foreign policy elite, they then try to smear you and say, oh, you must be for Putin. I've always thought Putin's a bad guy. I still think he's a bad guy, but that's a separate question for a leader.
It's a really good answer, dude. I mean,
He's breaking it down logically.
You guys, there was one presidential candidate up on that stage, and I'm just letting you know. And it was nobody we've seen. I'm just letting you know. Trump made a mistake not going to this thing. A big mistake. Huge. Trump should have been there. Trump should have. He's not
mistake?
We're going to go into why Trump wasn't there, and I'm going to tell you why it was a big mistake. But that's pretty freaking presidential. I haven't seen any of DeSantis' comments. None. Now, of course, all the Trump supporters, he sucked, he burned, he crashed. That's just what they do, right? DeSantis is the biggest threat to Trump, so therefore he's evil, and they're going to continue to trash him and destroy him. That's just what they do. They're immature little putzes.
Honestly, he reminded me of Trump there. Putin's a bad guy. I've always thought he was a bad guy.
He's
Just
got his
sounded like
finger out,
something
just
Trump
like
would
what we've
say.
seen before.
Yeah, let's let him. Let's see what else he says.
Who's got to look at the world in very clear-eyed glasses. You know that it's not all peaches and cream out there, and you have to make a judgment about what's in America's national interest. And so that's the position that I believe, and I also believe that I wish the DC elites cared as much about our border as they do about the Ukraine-Russia border. Because there's people pouring into this country. We have people dying from fentanyl overdose. The cartels are running the show. And what I've said is this is something on day one, declare a national emergency, mobilize all resources, including the military, stop the invasion, yes, build the wall, but most importantly, authorize the Border Patrol, authorize our military to deal with the cartels. If they're breaking into our country, bringing product, if I'm in charge, that's going to be the last thing they do because they're going to end up stone cold dead.
He was the only one who actually spoke, like, talking about what he would do. Like,
Yeah.
he was talking like, I'm running for president. Everyone else, it was like, it's just, you know, a Sunday afternoon interview or something.
That's true. It's a really good point. I think the answer is popular. I think if you want to have a 500,000 dead American boys, then you go ahead and you send them in against the cartel. The cartel is not a bunch of guys on mules. They have RPGs. They have drones. They have fully automatic weapons. They have artillery. They have tanks. They are the 4th largest standing military in the world. Let me say that again. The cartel has a very large military force, exceptionally large military force. So you're talking at any given time, 350,000 cartel military equipped guerrilla warfare fighters in jungle warfare. If you want a second Vietnam, do this. And not only will you have to go from town to town and window to window like Bosnia, you have people who are paid to shoot you. And there are a plethora of people who want to get in line to do it. I don't agree. Now, for him to say the following, if the cartel continues to do what we're doing, then we will have a war from 50,000 feet and below. And the United States has fought that war. We fought that war in Iraq. We fought that war in Afghanistan. We fought that war in Libya. We will bring that war to Mexico and the cartel. And we will help the Mexican government fight a war against the cartel from 50,000 feet and above or below. That is saying we will rain fire with drones and aircraft against the cartel. And that is a very different thing than saying we're going to put boots on the ground. There's a reason why we had the DARE program and we didn't go in and try to destroy the Mexican cartels. There's a reason why we did it, because we know that it would cost hundreds of thousands of American lives to do so. Leroy, I'm sure you have a thought on this.
I do. But while you were saying all of that, my mind was actually going to when Ron DeSantis basically pointed out that you can care about the Ukrainian border or the U.S. southern border, I thought that raised a really good point. And my mind keeps going back to the fact that it seems like everyone on the far left in the U.S. Capitol, they fight with tooth and nail against any sort of barrier. When we know that walls work, it is an amazing passive device to narrow down, to trim down both human trafficking, drugs, and the illegal activity that happens along the southern border. And so that was my very first thought, and it just boggles my mind that every time the topic comes up, everyone on the far left says no border, no questions, and it's like, why? Do you not have a front door in your house? Now, where Matt was headed, completely agree. Which is that it would be a very smart tactical decision to, if we were going to wage that war, no boots on ground, to go in with a tool that the cartel doesn't have. And that's high altitude aircraft that they could use to dissuade U.S. forces from leveling every cocaine field, every poppy seed field in their territory that they control, and just burning it all down.
That's it. It's just like the oil fields in Iraq.
That.
Yeah, oil fields in Iraq.
That would be amazing.
Yep. I mean, Saddam Hussein did one thing right: lighting the oil fields on fire, preoccupied the United States government because nobody knew how to put them out. And it took a shit ton of work to do so. It's reverse dyslexic slash and burn agriculture. You go in there and you hit the poppy fields, you hit the cocaine distributions, you hit the coca farmers, you hit the underground laboratories. If you need to bring in some special forces to, plant some precision explosives or to laser guide a bomb in, that's all good. We can do that too. You don't fight that war on the ground. In fact, you just literally rain $1 billion a day in ordnance, and that war will be over in 120 days. Yeah. Or at least crippled to the point where they can no longer produce at the volume that they are. The United States can unleash that puppy from the chain anytime they want. I like DeSantis' answer. It's the best answer of the night so far. And that impressed the hell out of me. And you know me, I'm not voting for DeSantis. I don't think DeSantis is the greatest choice. I think he is, if he can get the war chest financially and he can get to answering like that, you have to, Olivia and I know what this means. You have to find the president. And you have to find your presidential voice. In order to be president, you got to find it. And every candidate finds the presidential voice. DeSantis, that was the closest I've heard him finding the presidential voice. This is pro-life answer. Let's hear how this goes.
Oh, man, Amy should be here for this one.
I know.
She lost her internet. She can't get it back up.
She's probably really tired, too. She's been working her ass off. Here it is.
Well, I'm very proud to say Kim Reynolds is here, and she signed a great heartbeat bill today. We were able to do that in Florida. We had a lot of opposition to that. I'm proud to have been a pro-life governor.
What's up?
There's no video.
What, Leroy?
No
shit!
video.
I'm sorry. I'm getting tired too. Duh, Matt.
You're
sorry,
good.
I'm fixing it. Fixing it right now. Sorry about that.
Well, I'm very proud to say Kim Reynolds is here, and she signed a great heartbeat bill today. We were able to do that in Florida. We had a lot of opposition to that. I'm proud to have been a pro-life governor, and I will be a pro-life president. So, of course I want to sign pro-life legislation. I think it's something that we need to develop a culture of life in this country. If you look over the last 50 years, we allowed practices that were barbaric. Post-birth abortion. Abortion when you have a fully formed baby 6-7 months in. And I don't think Rome's built in a day. I think it's going to take time to make progress in some parts of the country. But as president, I will be somebody who will use the bully pulpit to support governors like Kim Reynolds when she's got a bill, other states as they advance the cause of life. It is a critical issue, and it's one I'm happy to have done. And oh, by the way, this is an issue where I had a lot of supporters who were averse to me on this. Donors saying they didn't want to support me if I stood for life. It's been written about how I lost a lot of really big supporters. Some of them just aren't pro-life. Some of them think it's a political liability. And at the end of the day, you get into office to be able to do what's right. And you've got to stand on principle, and you've got to say, why am I here? If you're here to contort yourself into a pretzel, to try to not have to take on big issues, to take the political road that's easier traveled, then you're not somebody that's dependable. So we stood up. We did what was right. Yeah, we lost some support as a result of that. But if I had a chance to do it again, I'd do it every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Good answer.
Fucking Navy answer, dude.
I like how he said that, as opposed to saying that when I'm president, I'm going to do this about pro-life. No, I'm going to support the governors. Since the Supreme Court kicked it back to the states with Roe v. Wade.
Yep.
Good point.
That's going to be brought up. And if you say, I'm going to do this, well, then it's just going to be put back in your face.
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. I mean, you've set precedent, right? The Supreme Court has said this is a state issue. And the fact that he has the presence of mind not to go after the big lobbies or go after individual senators or legislators or political action committees, he's saying, I've got to get the governors on this page, and I know how to communicate with governors. Hey, Olivia, that was a hell of a take.
Very good.
That's what I'm looking for from you as much as possible. That is a great, best take you've ever had on this show, and I didn't even think about it. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get laid tonight, honestly. I'm just telling you.
You don't need to impress me to get laid here. Sorry, it's been a week.
Yeah, but I've got some new moves. I've got some new moves. I've been trying
I don't think the listeners want to hear
I've been
this.
trying to lick my eyebrows for 20 years, honey. I finally achieved it. So
You lick the alphabet. Is that it?
No. A.
Hey. Just the vowels. Just the vowels.
Just about. Yeah. If you try to do Q one more time, I'll tell you what. You're going a little low there, buddy. Dive. Awooga. Awooga. All right. Good. I think Glenn said it.
What did he say?
Someone's like, "Oh, you think Matt's bad now? You should have seen him during the early years." It's true. I used to think that, just yelling and I've mellowed out a lot. All right, this answer, I want to hear it, and we're almost done. So let's do this.
Nationally.
Well, I'm very proud to say Kim Reynolds is here, and she signed a great heartbeat bill today.
This was on.
It's just like his last answer.
Yeah, I know. He's all over it. If that's the only mistake I made with all these videos and confusing as it was to cut and splice them, let me tell you.
So how concerned are you
Thanks, buddy.
that in the wake of whatever the next economic disruption
This is one that Leroy's going to get a boner. Do we have a swing? Leroy's going to pop a tent here. For sure. Come on. Leroy's going to pop tent here because this is about the economy and economic crisis. So watch Leroy's face here, because I think if he doesn't vote for DeSantis after this one, if it's good, I'll be shocked.
So how concerned are you that in the wake of whatever the next economic disruption that we're going to face is, and everyone kind of feels like maybe there's something coming, that will wind up with digital currency issued by the central bank?
Well, if I am the president on day one, we will nix central bank digital currency. Done, dead.
Okay, so first thing, somebody needs to get in his ear stat, and maybe I'll send him an email. I don't know if he'll listen to me. He has got to stop saying if I'm president. You need to assume the sale. You have got to say when I'm president. Stop this if I'm president shit. Clear the field. Assume the role. You are the only person who's even close to Trump, and it's not close, and it won't be. It's going to narrow, and it'll be 1.5 points every month until the general. Or till the primary. You're probably going to be in the primary 7 to 10 points down on Trump. Stop worrying about that shit. Just get yourself into the mindset that you're going to be the president. If that's what you really want, because he's got to stop that, because he's consenting second place, and that needs to end.
Yeah.
Not happening in this country, in the state of Florida.
You need right there
because
is the you need the winners go home and bang the prom queen quote.
Oh yeah, no. It's like, Ryan, some things in here don't track to with bullets. No, it's like where he goes.
Losers.
Loser.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's where he's like, oh god, what's the guy's first name in the movie?
Losers always whine about.
No. Losers always talk about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
That's right. Exactly.
It's like, Carla was the prom queen, right? This is a good answer. So Karen Klein's here. Karen says that's not true. California allows it. She's not talking to me.
No, she's not.
Allows abortion on demand up until the fetus can survive outside the womb. After that, only for the health of the mother. There's no such thing as abortion after birth. That's murder. It's not 100% true. Karen, there's been legislation that has been tried to be passed that it's up even to after birth and exit of the womb, depending upon the mother. If there's a complication, resuscitation can be handled. It is still, the phrasing is, it is still a decision between the woman and the doctor. That phrasing is extremely dangerous, and I completely disagree with you.
She's responding to somebody who said, how about California 28 days after birth? That's what she was responding to. That's
not true. There's legislation that has been pushed through in New York and Virginia for after birth, and it's considered to be a crackpot disillusion type thing. Democrats are most people agree. 71% of America believes there needs to be restrictions on abortion. 73% believe that some form of abortion should be legal. So there is a happy ground, about 2%, where everyone agrees.
Right.
Karen is not. She's absolutely correct. There is nothing in context right now that says once that fetus exits, but there is language around resuscitation or going for extreme circumstances. That mother has right for DOR. or DNR, do not resuscitates, and those type of things are controversial. But ultimately, if somebody has a power of attorney over somebody, they can sign a DNR. If you have a child that's under 18, you can sign a DNR. These people need to stop making shit up, because it triggers people like Karen to come in here and school you. She knows her stuff. Karen has been on this show for a long time. We disagree on pretty much everything, but she's one of the good ones. She's got an opinion. She usually knows her stuff, and she's right. But there is legislation being put forward by batshit crazy, I wouldn't even say Democrats. I would just say absolute nut jobs, okay? But the fact, Karen, that you did say that you can go ahead and at a 7th or 8th month remove that child, you and I completely disagree, vehemently disagree that is any better. And for you to even put that in the sentence as some sort of clause that supports your case, I think it damns it, because life begins. Anyone that says, okay, you want to say 15 weeks? Fine, we'll play that game. But just sit here and say you'll remove a baby at 7 or 8, 9, or sorry, 7, 8, 6 months. I think that's murder. Period. Plain and simple. I think it's murder the moment you do it, honestly. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Has been talking about this.
Oh yeah.
And what the Fed said was, well, we wouldn't do it without consulting the legislative and executive branches. Ideally, we would get a law passed. No. That's not how the Constitution says. It's only ideal that you get a law passed.
Yes, Amy, I'll address it right after this.
You would have to get a law passed. I don't think Congress would pass that. So I think the Fed may try to do something unilaterally. So what we did in Florida is we basically passed a law that says we do not recognize CBDC in the state of Florida. And I think other states are probably going to follow suit. That will jam their ability to do it through executive action. They don't have authority to do it. There'd be lawsuits and everything. For those who don't know what CBDC is, what they want to do, and this is tied in with like Davos, World Economic Forum, all these people. They want the Fed, they want to get rid of cash. They want no cryptocurrency, and they want this to be the sole form of legal tender. And they have said this publicly at like Davos and these other places. It will allow them to prohibit, quote, undesirable purchases like fuel and ammunition. And so the minute you give them the power to do this, they are going to impose a social credit system on this country. CBDC is a massive threat to American liberty. On January 20th, 2025, it goes to the ash heap of history in this country.
That's a better answer.
If you were to become president, and
that's
previous
a good
presidents
answer,
have
and he
discovered
solidified
this.
it and
So
assume the position. Okay, I want to get Leroy's take real quick, but I got to get to this answer because people have been asking it and been real patient. I don't want to lose viewers, and then we'll come right back.
Go ahead. I wouldn't have added anything to that other than the fact that digital currency does exactly that. It allows the government to decide what purchases you really need to make versus which ones they will allow you to have. And that's not constitutional. That does not fall in line with the idea of liberty in the United States. That is a big brother move that we can basically tell them to piss off with.
If you like that idea, I have two situations for you to consider. One is PayPal, that was going to take people's money and penalize them $15,000 if they were somehow spreading disinformation on their social media site and making money. And number two, truckers from Canada. All their money was seized. So, no. I do want to address one point, two things real quick. Someone asked me a question. Matt, I'm hearing rumors that DeSantis is funded by George Soros. Is that true? Yep. George Soros donated money to Ron DeSantis' campaign. So what? George Bush did, and the George Bush supporters did as well. Paul Ryan did as well. The Bushes supported. Why? Because they hate Trump. And anything they can do to discredit Ron DeSantis. Soros endorsed Ron DeSantis. Why? Well, in order for you to ask that question, Ron DeSantis is in no way, shape, or form a Soros candidate. People are like, he's a Freemason. Who gives a shit? My father was a Freemason. My great-grandfather was a Freemason. My grandfather was a Freemason. I have a ruler that's in my family. There's a wooden collapsible ruler that Freemasons handed out that was Benjamin Franklin's. It's truth. My grandfather was a master Shriner and a master Mason. He Was it in his whole life? One of my good neighbors and one of my good friends who I idolize is a Mason. When did Masons become a threat to the United States? The Freemasons have been involved in our government for a long time. This whole Illuminati thing and trilateral,
the Da Vinci Code was released.
Right, trilateral commission. You people need to stop. If there is a giant power, if there is a giant arm guiding all of us that you think master controls the fate of our election system, then guess what? You love America, don't you? Well, then let's just let it happen. Because even the illusion, I don't want to wake up from the Matrix. I don't want to take the pill. So let me just keep eating steak and having a good time and seeing the lady in the red dress, because which is my wife, because I don't want to wake up. But folks, you're giving the government way too much credit. I've said this a million times on this show. The World Economic Forum is a batshit crazy ideology, just like Greenpeace, just like the Green New Deal, just like it's not Zionist, but just Aryan Nation. All of these things, World Economic Forum, New World Order. Yes, it's out there. Yes, it's real. They're ideological principles that are trying to take over free market capitalism and singularity republics. So what? It's been going on forever. This is nothing new, and nobody wants it. That's why socialism fails everywhere it's tried. So George Soros is a master manipulator and an absolute agent for the left, and he's going to do the same thing. And if you think that the Koch brothers didn't give money to Barack Obama's campaign, you're insane. Why? So they can leave a paper trail of doubt in people's minds. The Koch brothers would not give Donald Trump any money. Do you know that? Not one penny. Why? Because they don't want him. They don't like him. So let's stop. DeSantis was the greatest governor who ever lived 6 to 7 months ago, and every one of you wanted him to be the vice president of the United States. Now you're all questioning him. Why? He just kicked ass. He answered 4 questions and crushed it. He was the most presidential person on stage. Okay. Yep. Olivia, your thoughts on DeSantis?
I do like him. I thought he was the most impressive out of everyone tonight. Still not decided, and I still want to see everyone in a debate on the same stage answering the same questions in the same room. And that after the first debate, I'll see where I'm at with.
I need the debates too. I need the debates. I got to see him against Trump. I have to. And if Trump, okay, let's talk about Trump. Okay, I'm going to be quick because I got to get to one last thing after this about Eli Crane. I got to get these guys off here. It's been a long night, and we all want to go for the weekend. Donald Trump should have shown up. And I don't believe it helps him. I believe it hurts him. He should have shown up. And honestly, I think this field that's in front of him is so much better than the field that was against him in 2016. Jeb Bush, are you kidding me? Lindsey Graham, Chris Christie.
Oh, they're all shills.
Rick Santorum. Who was the other douchebag from the guy, Gasich or whatever, that I talked about
Gorsuch?
No, that's Supreme Court. I mentioned the guy the other night who ran against him, who's a Republican.
I can't remember.
John Kasich.
No, I did like Ben Carson. I will say.
Yeah, Ben Carson was great. That's fine. But Ben Carson's not a president. He's very much like Vivek. Very much like Vivek.
Yeah.
Donald Trump wiped the floor with a bunch of stiffs. Our bench is pretty damn good in the Republican Party right now, and I'm telling you, it's a much different field. I don't believe that Donald Trump doesn't want to debate because Donald Trump knows what's going to happen, and he's standing behind that somehow he's a king.
Yeah, it showed. His whole thing is he's very egotistical and arrogant, and a lot of people are saying that he needs to stop with thinking he's all that. And I think this just proved him not coming, that he thinks he's all that, and he thinks he's too good for being there, and that he doesn't even need to try. Well, he needs to try because he lost a lot of people, and he lost a lot of his base. And he needs to try to get those people back, and not going there is not helping his cause.
Well, I think basically by doing anything half-assed like he has is how we ended up in the position we're in now.
Yeah, listen, he's going to have to face these guys sometime, because here's the thing. I've never heard this in politics. The president of the United States, everyone's like going after Biden. He's scared. Biden does not have to debate the Democrats. He'll debate the Republican. Of course he will. You guys, it really bothers me that some people don't know how this works. Okay? The incumbent doesn't debate Democrats ever in the primary. It's in the general election. He'll go against Trump. He'll have to. Because you want to know why? Because there's a piece of legislation that was signed that the United States government gets its free airtime from the media channels, but they have to provide debates. It's written into the contracts of the free airtime that the government gives. They have to have debates, and they have to have at least one debate. There'll be a debate between Biden and whoever else it is. But if you're expecting Biden to debate, he's not being a coward. He's not being a coward. I don't think Joe Biden's a coward. I would not describe Joe Biden as a coward. He stood toe-to-toe with Donald Trump. I don't care how many injections he has to have. That guy doesn't shy away from a fight. He's almost to the point where he's too boisterous. He's too bravado. He's got too much testosterone running through that thing. He's not a coward, and he's doing it because he doesn't have to. No Democrat incumbent ever debates. Now, Donald Trump should have been there. It was his opportunity to be in a fair and safe environment. Tucker Carlson would have protected him. He would have given Trump everything he needed to be successful, and it could have worked on his image. But right now, in my opinion, I think it makes him look small and petty. Go ahead, Liv.
Diane from Roma wants to know if we know why Trump didn't show up.
Trump doesn't believe he has to. Trump still believes he's the president. Trump believes he's the president. He doesn't believe he should have to. He's the clear front runner. He doesn't believe there's any reason for him to show up. Trump has assumed the nomination. I'm telling you right now, if Donald Trump thinks that one of these guys can't close the gap, he has no idea how the system works. All I would tell you is that right now at this time, Jeb Bush was the nominee for president for the Republican Party at this time in 2016, folks. Wake up. Jeb frackin' Bush. The dull personality Bush, if you can believe that. All right. Last thing we're going to talk about, and I'm going to do this quick and then we're done. Eli Crane. I've done a video. I need everyone to do me a favor. If you like this show at all, if you like what we do here, I need a favor. There's 114 people on, and I know not all of you have done it. I need you to leave after this show, go to the Facebook page, find the Eli Crane video, the show that I did today, episode 500, like it, share it. Please. They are going after and trying to cancel Eli Crane because he made a mistake when he was talking and he said colored people. And he meant to say people of color because you know the jargon. Do we say melanin skin people? Do we say dark skin people? Do we say BIPOC? Do we say people of color? There's so many different rules that you have to say, and they're trying to cancel him for it. I talked to his wife. I'm not going to show you the email. He's having a hard time. This guy's a Navy SEAL. He is a man. He is a men against men. And I did a video for him. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's 30 minutes. And I don't defend him because he doesn't need me to, but I need you to share it. I need you to get it out. And if you're on Twitter, share it on Twitter. If you're on Instagram, do it there. If you're on Rumble, do it there. Do it everywhere you can. Get out there. Let's activate this. And I'm not doing it for me. Do it for him. Please. The guy came on our show. He's a great man. He deserves our respect. He's fighting his ass off for us. And we got to make sure that we get the word out that this is just a hit job on him. That's my minute. Leroy, you have your minute, and then Olivia.
It was a good show. It was a really good show. This is the most fun I've had in a long time, and it was a really great way to end the week. We started it off with STiiLPOiNT, and we talked with Brandon and Maddie. That was fantastic. And then we rolled right in from that to talking about Tucker and watching him interview Rick Scott and Vivek Ramaswamy and Nikki and DeSantis and Mike Pence. And I like that. I like the idea that these people are basically interviewing for who is going to be the next president. They're interviewing for the job. They're basically telling us what their policy is. And we need to remember that that's how we need to vote for them, not based on their personality, not based on how they look or charisma or anything like that. We need to get to the point where we're looking at people's policy and we're going based off of that. And for everyone who is not paying attention, and I'm paying very close attention right now, the Democrat side is basically making the case in every posts that I have seen from them for the last 6 months, it's always the same talking points. It's Republicans want to take away your right to an abortion. They're talking about inflation,
Your
and
health
how
care.
how
Social Security.
and how inflation has come down, and they're talking about jobs. Make sure that when you see that kind of crap online, that you are calling them out. Make sure that you are really driving home the points that, you cannot give the president, you can't give the president credit for driving down inflation if the reason that it's coming down is because he was the one who made it spike to begin with. You can't have it both ways. He is either the not only the cause of, but the potential fix for, or he's neither. So make sure you are really driving that point home. Past that, it was a really good show, and it was good to see you guys.
And I'm going to show you guys quickly. This is the show right here, wearing what I'm wearing right now. This is the Eli Crane show. It's called The Left Are Trying to Cancel Congressman Eli Crane. I just put it into the sheet. It's there in chat. You guys can click on that real quick and just go and like it. I'd appreciate it. It doesn't have enough. It was released against a few other things that were fighting for attention. It didn't post 3 hours after my window, so therefore it's not getting the push it needs because it's not my normal traffic pattern when people expect it. So it's only got 87. I haven't had a video underperform like this in a long time. It needs your help. Please get out there. I actually put $100 on it of my own money to bump it and boost it to get it out there for Eli. I don't know him a damn thing. He doesn't know me anything, but this is wrong. He's not a racist. He's a good man. He made a mistake. No, he didn't make a mistake. Because you know what? The NAACP, does anyone want to go ahead and tell me what that means? Yeah, it ends with CP, colored people. So let's be honest. If Eli's a racist, and so's the NAACP. It was also in that American, that Jill Scott song. She also said those words. Eli made an error. Please take care of him. Please share it. Please like it. I would appreciate it. Go buy some STiiLPOiNT songs. Go get yourself a Red Friday shirt. Olivia, we're handing it off to you. You're tired. You've worked all day. You can say anything you want. We love you. And you made 2 amazing points tonight and crushed it. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did.
You know what I miss about watching Tucker Carlson on Fox? It's his facial expressions when he's interviewing people.
Yeah, they're good. They're
the
good.
serious and the open mouth
and the laugh
and everything. Just I remember watching those. We would just make fun of his faces. And yeah, that's my minute.
He strikes me as someone you would love to play poker with because he doesn't look like he'd be able to hide anything,
No.
No, but he probably crushes. I mean, I saw him smoking a cigar and drinking scotch with, I think, Shapiro and crew, if I'm not mistaken, and he fits in. He's like Jordan Peterson, those guys. Karen Klein's on the show. She's, like I said, blue Democrat, bleeding heart as they come. But I do appreciate her being on. I appreciate Amy. I've read all your comments. I try to read everybody's comments. I appreciate you all so much. We're going to go enjoy Diablo weekend. Have a great time. We love you all. We appreciate you all. We're going to go out with the Veteran Crisis Hotline. Remember, stop by Rumble if you haven't. Like, share, follow, and subscribe. It keeps the lights on. I appreciate you. Oh, and one more level of transparency quickly is I was asked, did I make Twitter money? Because a bunch of Twitter, Elon Musk went and gave $20,000, $5,000, $10,000. I'm not monetized on Twitter yet. I need another 5,000 followers before I can do that. But I will tell you something, just to be honest with you. I saw all the list of all the Twitter, their royalties. I made more on Facebook than every one of them. So we are not consistent yet, and that's what needs to happen. We need to get consistent, and that is the advertising. I want to be able to spread the wealth around. I want to be able to take care of Amy. I want to be able to take care of Leroy. But we don't do a lot on those other channels. And the only way we do is through advertising, and it takes you. So if you want to help out with that, and I've gotten a lot of questions about, Matt, how much did you make off Twitter? I made zero, nothing. In fact, I lost money. I lost over $600 on Twitter last month because I had to advertise. I'm advertising to get 10,000 because it's too hard to grow. It's up to you. You make this show grow. So if you want to see it get bigger, it's up to you. You've got to bring friends on here, and you got to, share the best content that you can. You got to do your best to help out, and I'm asking you to. So there's my plea. There's my honesty. Facebook's my platform, not Twitter. and I will always stay on Facebook as long as they keep taking care of me. Folks, thank you. Have a great night. I love you. Leroy, you're the best. Olivia, I love you too. I'm going to go love you tonight and have a good one. Veteran Crisis Hotline, take a listen. Leroy, you're the man, buddy. Thank you.
Night, Leroy.
Love you guys. Have a good night.
Yes, sir. See you guys.
I'm David Boreanaz with the Cast of SEAL team, and we have an important message for returning vets.
We want you to know if you're struggling to cope, there's help and it's just a phone call away.
The Veterans Crisis Line is staffed with experienced professionals who know your struggles.
There's no greater sacrifice in service to our country. We're able to enjoy.
Cat Turd did not make $1 billion. Cat Turd did not make $1 billion. Amy, come on. Was that a typo? Tell me it was a typo. Tell me it was a typo. You're telling me Cat Turd made $1 billion. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. There's no doubt in my mind that he made hundreds of thousands. There's no doubt in my mind he made hundreds of thousands. But he didn't make $1 billion. There's no way. Amy, tell me it was real quick. Let's see if she answers. Then I'm going to go. Yeah, nobody made $1 billion on Twitter. I'm just telling you. Some of the biggest ones that I saw were about $27,000, $28,000. I don't think Cat Turd has said he makes good money. There's no doubt. Crass and Steeds made $25,000, $26,000. That was since June. I'll tell you, I made more than all of them last month. Last month was an amazing month. We just crushed it. It was the best month we ever had, and we haven't had great months like that. On average, Facebook pays me about $3,000 a month. My podcast pays me a few hundred. Clothing gives me $1,000 or so. And a lot of that goes back into the site. But we had the best month that we've ever had on Facebook last month. It just crushed. It was a great month. We're doing really well. We just we got to get the live show to continue to grow. And it's been doing okay. But we got to get it to grow. Okay? I'm leaving now. See you guys. Amy said million. That's close. I'm pretty confident. Cat Turd made $1 million. Yeah, that guy has an incredible amount of engagement. All right, I'm leaving. I got to go. See ya.
I'm David Boreanaz with the Cast of SEAL team, and we have an important... You are important. For vets and their families, the Veterans Crisis Line is here to help 24 hours a day. Please call.
Thanks for sharing, Carrie. I appreciate it. Abe, people don't respond. It's the way it works, but keep sharing. It helps the algorithm. What it does is promote the video. You guys got to let me go. I'll talk to you guys all night, and I don't want to. Later.